Blog
Gus
Talk
Renegade.
Radio.
Gus T. Renegade, Justice, in for another program, Context of White Supremacy, getting started because our guest will be with us for 1 hour, so I want to cover as much material as possible. To start things off and set the correct tone, this is from White Odyssey. One of the books we'll be discussing today, page 6. This is the main white character, Randy, speaking. He's with his parents and his younger sister. That was when I first realized right down in my bones that white people weren't as good as colored ones. You're as good as anyone else, Dad said sharply, when I blurted out more or less what I had been thinking. For as long as I can remember, he had been telling me and Risa we were as good as anyone despite our skin color, but this time he was forceful with his words. Maybe so, but what good does it do me to study if I can't get a good job when I grow up? I don't want to park cars or take care of old niggers or chinks. The moment I said it, Mom jumped all over me. Randall Tremont, I've told you about that kind of language. It could get your father and I locked up and you thrown into one of those horrible juvenile facilities. Don't ever let me hear you utter those words again. Or spick either. You hear me, young man? The skin on her face was drawn tight with bright splotches of red, highlighting her cheeks. Very interesting, and particularly why his mother got upset about him saying nigger. Very interesting. The guest for this afternoon's program, he is the author of Melanin Apocalypse. He is also the author of White Odyssey and many other books. You can go to his website and check out all of his material. He's been a guest with us before, and we're delighted to have him back on the program, Mr. Darrell Bain. Mr. Bain, you are with us, sir. Is that correct?
That's right. I'm here, Gus, and I'm glad to be here.
Outstanding. Great to have you back on the program. I want to hop right to it. One thing before I get started, since you're only going to be here for an hour, if you could be as efficient in answering your questions as possible. That way we can get through as much material, because we have 2 books that I want to ask questions about, so it'd be great if we can cover as much as possible. And I might hop in just to kind of move forward if I want to make sure we cover as much material as possible. I'm not being rude. I just want to cover as much as I possibly can. Is that acceptable?
Oh, that's fine. That's fine.
Beautiful. Okie doke. White Odyssey, I want to let the folks know a little bit about the book so we can get started. White Odyssey, this book, Mr. Bain says this book is supposed to be the response, or the opposite, that was his term when he was on the program last month, to Melanin Apocalypse. Really quickly, Melanin Apocalypse, Darrell Bain wrote that book. It is a fictional account of some sort of biological weapon being released that kills black people, and millions of black people die in the book. Black people are depicted as gold tooth looting rapists in the book. Very interesting. We discussed it last month. You can hit the archives and hear that conversation. He wrote White Odyssey after Melanin Apocalypse. White Odyssey, the tables have turned. This is also obviously fiction. The tables have turned. Non-white people are in power. They are mistreating people. They are not allowing white people to go to good schools. They don't allow them to go to certain parts of cities or towns. They're just widely mistreated. They gather them up into camps and use them as guinea pigs to explore other planets. And you're just kind of following this one white family. The second that I read to begin the program, Randy, Risa, they are the 2 younger characters, the main characters that we're following, and they're 2 white parents as well. Very interesting book. The other book that we're going to talk about that is very much related is Farnham's Freehold by Robert A. Heinlein. That's Heinlein, Heinlein. Robert A. Heinlein, Farnham's Freehold. This book came out in the 60s, which is very interesting context. But this book came out first in 1964, written by a white person. This book is about all the hysteria around the Cold War and fear of some sort of nuclear threat. You're with a white family. They have a black male servant. They go into a bomb shelter. They hide out. There's an attack. They get fast forwarded into the future, I think like 2,000 years, where, again, the tables have turned. Now, non-white people are in charge, and the white people are being mistreated. They have sex slaves of white people. Very interesting book, a lot of contrast, and want to get started. Both of these books, White Odyssey, Farnham's Freehold, both of these books, you no longer have a system of white supremacy, which I have concluded exists now, 2011. In the absence of white supremacy in both of these books, black people, non-white people are doing amazing things. In White Odyssey, black people are manipulating gravity. They're traveling all over the universe, the planets, exploring. In Farnham's Freehold, black people are building time machines. I mean, it's pretty bonkers to think, wow, non-white people are doing all of these things once white supremacy ends. Did you notice that pattern in both of these books? And can you comment on why you chose to have the black people doing all of these things in the absence of white supremacy in your book, White Odyssey?
Yes, I had the idea of doing a book sort of like White Odyssey for many years, and I just couldn't quite make it gel somehow. And then my brother sent me an article on the prospects of genetic warfare where it could be used for genocide. And I wrote that book first, The Melanin Apocalypse. And it was a rather dark book, I'll have to say. And after I finished that, and I had some readers who they accused me. One letter in particular accused me of hating black people, which was the furthest thing from my mind. I was really just using the book as an illustration of how genetic warfare could play out. And for White Odyssey, once I had written The Melanin Apocalypse, I wanted to write a book showing a contrast to The Melanin Apocalypse, where whites were no longer in power, but were subjugated. And that's the history of both my books there.
Okay. Specifically, did you, with the question about there's no longer a system of white supremacy in either of these two books, and now black people are doing all sorts of extraordinary things. Did you think that was interesting, that planned? Did you notice that present in both your book and Farnham's Freehold, that black people are doing all these incredible things?
I sort of figured, and this is my own opinion, of course, that were the tables turned, probably there would be a lot of revenge seeking. Okay. I'll leave that for listeners. Just think about that. No white supremacy. Black people are manipulating gravity, making time machines. I just think that's very interesting. That particularly white people, both white people wrote these books, that maybe there's some subconscious message about what white people think black people, non-white people are capable of, particularly in the absence of white supremacy. The next question I wanted to ask, I'll pick a passage. I'm actually going to switch and go to Farnham's Freehold, but I think this applies to your book and Farnham's Freehold. The little blurb I'm going to read from Farnham's Freehold. Actually, no, that's your book. I'm going to switch back and do your book. I'm doing the White Odyssey. I have so many books in front of me here. All right, going back to White Odyssey on page 71. Yes, White Odyssey, page 71. I think this holds true for both books. You write,
Um, I didn't know why on earth we should want to, but on the other hand, I didn't see where it would hurt anything to have the comma module if it still was intact. Better to be prepared even if we never used it. Besides, I could hardly contain my grin at seeing an enforcer, and just for clarification, in White Odyssey, the enforcers are black people. So when you hear the term enforcer, if I read a little bit, I'm talking about black people. Seeing a black person, an enforcer, in our power and taking orders from one of us, it made me feel bigger somehow. And I actually do want to slip down and read one from Farnham's Freehold as well, because there are a lot of these sort of lines that I think reveal a lot about the psyche of white people. I'm going to ask you a question about how that relates to both of these books. This is on page 110 in Farnham's Freehold. Skipping down page 110 a little bit. Okay, this is trying to figure out, make sure I'm telling you the right speaker. This is Karen speaking, Farnham's Freehold. If I can give you the characters really quick. They're all white people, one black male servant. That's who starts it off. The main male character, Hugh, he has a daughter named Karen, and so Karen is the one speaking here, white woman. She's talking about Joe, who is a black male. He's the servant for the white people in this family in this book, which is Farnham's Freehold, not the book that Darrell Bain authored. Karen, she writes, white woman, she says, she's talking about Joe the servant. Joe, black male, is being a gentleman and not wanting to watch us take a bath. Joe is being a gentleman under trying circumstances. Don't make it harder. Let that load wait, and we'll all take it up at once. Just that sentence right there, it might have not come across, but I feel like there's a lot of sexualized language in both of these books. There are a lot of sex scenes. Even in Melanin Apocalypse, there are a lot of sex scenes. There are rape scenes. There's castration. Some of the, I guess, alien creatures in White Odyssey, they are called humpers. It just seems to be a lot of focus on genitals and sex in all of these books. Melanin Apocalypse, Farnham's Freehold, White Odyssey. Did you notice that? Do you think that's significant? Why is that the case, especially since you authored two of these books?
I don't think that I concentrated on genitals so much. There was romance in both of my books, which I put in most of my books, and it was just part of the book, really. Now, as far as having sex in books, hell, all books have sex in them now, just about. I don't see what the problem is here. And as far as rapes or castration, these are things that have taken place in America and other countries by whites or blacks, and I suppose if the tables were turned, it would probably be blacks doing the same thing to whites. There seems to be something in human nature that doesn't. I really don't know how to explain this, but there's something dark in our natures, I believe.
That's interesting.
That's about the best way I can explain it.
Interesting choice.
We try as civilization goes on, we try to get this out of our culture, but I don't know how well we're succeeding at it. The veneer of civilization covers a lot of it, but you have things break down a little bit, and you see it break out again, I believe. My own opinion again.
I read all these books, so I want to push back strongly. I think all three of these books, and again, you authored two of them, all three of these books focus. Sex, genitals are all at the center of all three of these books, I would assert. Not only do you have the romance, but Farnham's Freehold, you have people being castrated regularly. That's a part of the main part of the climax. Hugh, his son, Duke, getting castrated. And that, is a part of what pushes the plot along and upsetting Hugh and saying, I'm gonna make a run from it. I mean, and I want listeners just to think about that. A white man wrote a science fiction book where black people castrate a white man, and then the same black male who's responsible for castrating this white man marries this castrated white man's they don't get married. He uses this castrated white man's mother as a concubine. I just want you all to think about that. But in your book, I'm going back to Melanin Apocalypse just to really make sure I hammer this home, because I think I'm correct on this, the focus on sex and the genitals. This is 123 Melanin Apocalypse. Why is that better? We'll just execute him. Same as those other Aryan supremacist bastards. For my money, he ought to be hung up by his balls and beat to death with rusty barbed wire. That's on 123 of Melanin Apocalypse. If I move to 159, Melanin Apocalypse, I'm the man, got your balls in my hand. That's all you need to know. That's Melanin Apocalypse. I can move to White Odyssey. You've got quite a few scenes where Randy and his, I guess, main partner, love interest, whatever, Kenny, they are having sexual intercourse. You've got a big rape scene at the end of the book. Are you saying you don't believe these three works focus significantly on sex, and particularly interracial sex?
No, I really don't think so. The scene that you just spoke of right at the last there, that's a mob scene. Something similar took place just very recently in one of the Arab countries. I think Egypt it was. One of our white reporters got raped there by the Arabs, by a mob. Okay? Anytime you have a mob, you're going to have horrible things happen. These things happened in the United States all too often for many, many years. And if I put those things in the book, it's just describing what human behavior can be. Okay? It's not that I'm trying to focus on them particularly.
I think that's the case.
That wasn't the focus of the books, for goodness sakes.
Well, I disagree. I think it is the focus of the books, and I would challenge anyone to read these books and, just count how many times sex pops up, lines that aren't talking about sex per se, and I'll read that one again so you can hear it from Farnham's Freehold, lines where they're not talking about sex, but even then it seems like they could be talking about sex. Again, the animals are named humpers. I think that has a sexual connotation to it. And again, this line on 110, I just want to read this slow so you all can hear it, same way I'm hearing it. This is a white woman talking about a black male that she's already said he's not a man, he's a boy. She says, she's talking to another white man. You'll do no such thing. Joe, the black male, is being a gentleman under trying circumstances. Don't make it harder. Let that load wait, and we'll take it up all at once. Even lines like that, where they're not really talking about sex, it sounds sexual. But, I could be incorrect. The next question.
Actually, I think you are, Gus. I think you're focusing on one particular aspect of both books.
That pops up consistently in all three books.
So much other stuff in the book.
No worries. I'm going to move forward, and we'll see if it pops back up.
And by the way, may I make a statement here? Farnham's Freehold was not my book. I'm not responsible for
I said that. I think I said that clearly. No worries. I don't mind you reiterating that, but I think I said that clearly. I gave the author's name.
I should make another statement about Heinlein here, too. He was one of the most liberal of the science fiction authors, okay? I think I mentioned that before when we were talking about the Melanin Apocalypse. Heinlein had black characters in his books before anybody else did, as regular persons. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. And again, the only reason I'm rushing is because you said 60 minutes. If we were staying 2 hours, I wouldn't have a problem spending time on other aspects. I have no idea what liberal means. I suspect that Robert A. Heinlein is a racist, or was I'm sure he's passed now, but I suspect that he probably was a racist. And just based on the writing, this is just based on the book that I read, I also suspect that you probably are a racist. And looking at Mr. Heinlein's book, and I want people to keep that in mind. You're saying that this was a watershed moment. They normally didn't have black males in works of fiction like this. Mr. Heinlein, he was one of the first people to put a black person in a book like this and just have him be a normal character, put that in quotes. I want to read a little bit from Farnham's Freehold so people can judge for themselves if they think this is, just a regular black person. He's not being mistreated.
Whoa. On Farnham's Freehold, he was concentrated on something else entirely.
Okay, no worries.
I'm speaking of his other books mainly.
Okay. Well, he does have a black character here, and you did say, you repeated it just now, that that was unusual to have a black character and have him treated normally. He was very liberal, quote unquote. I want to read a passage from Farnham's Freehold. This is on page, let's see, I'm going to go to page 6. Let's see, I'll try to pick a good one where they're talking about Joe, who is the black male character here. Let's see. I'll get to that one. Just give me a second.
While you're looking for it, I can tell you what Heinlein probably had in mind there. He was depicting how blacks were treated during the 60s with Joe. That was his object right there. That's what I think anyway. Now, he could have had something entirely different in mind, but that's what I think.
Okay. Well, I know I'll get to it in a second. I have it marked. Forgive me. I'll do better as we roll along. The next question I wanted to ask, in both of these books, Melanin Apocalypse and White Odyssey, and you wrote both of these books, you have black males being depicted as rapists. And I wanted to know, what is the constructive value of continuing to write books where black people are depicted as, black males specifically, are depicted as rapists? And I want to read both of the passages that I put in the description. One is from Melanin Apocalypse. The other is from White Odyssey. And there are multiple passages in both of these books. I want people to keep that in mind. Multiple passages in both books where black people, black males, are depicted as rapists. The passage in Melanin Apocalypse, he has a black male tugging at a white man, June, tugged at June harder. The black staggered backward with a piece of June's blouse in his hand and tripped over the sprawled body of another dead black male. The main character in Melanin Apocalypse, he aimed and shot once. That was not enough. His bullet punctured the black male's trachea just below his chin and shattered the vertebrae behind it. He dropped with blood spurting from his throat in a red fountain. This is from Melanin Apocalypse, which is supposed to be against racism. Now we go to White Odyssey. The enforcers, these are black males. This is on page 168, White Odyssey. The enforcers dragged 3 white women out in front of us and raped them in plain sight, then killed one of them. That had the exact opposite effect from what they intended. While the enforcers, we're talking about black males, were laughing and hollering at the poor white woman being degraded, our forces got their orders. Attack immediately. The one episode was enough to not only enrage us into a killing mode, but it distracted the other black males as they laughed. What about depicting black males in this way is constructive? What about this works against racism?
I don't say it's constructive. I say it's real. Gus, do you really think that blacks are not don't have some prejudice in them? Do you think it's all belongs to whites?
I have no idea. I'm going to go back to what my question was. I have no idea what the constructive value is of continually portraying black males as rapists. Now, if you're saying that black males or black people, period, are not perfect and they do incorrect things just like any other person, no problem. I don't think you need to continually write about black males raping white women to get that point across, particularly since there's a long history that you are very familiar with of black people being depicted as rapists. Why would we continue to do this in the 21st century? What about this is constructive?
It's just realism, Gus, is what it is. It's how people will act under these circumstances. That's all it is. I'm not trying to portray blacks in any particular way other than as people in a particular society would act a particular way, just as whites in a particular society would act in a particular way. Mobs will act in a particular way. Arabs will act in a particular way.
Do you have a particular way that white people act?
In the future, this will change, and we'll all
Do
get
you have
along
a particular
together,
way that white people act? Because, I mean, I hear you showing that black people act a particular way, which seems to be as raping, looting, rioters. Arabs act a particular way. They just raped a white woman. How do white people act under a system of white supremacy?
The same way.
Why don't you have scenes where white people are raping someone? I don't think I read a single scene where you have a white person raping a non-white person and acting like a beast and a savage and being killed violently. I don't think there's a single scene in your book, in any of the ones that I've read, where that's being depicted, where a white person is being shown that way. Why isn't that there?
It isn't there because it's not appropriate to the context of the books that I was writing. Now, if I wanted to write a book about a white mob, sure, I'd have them raping blacks. Of course I would. Okay? But in these two particular books, that wasn't the case.
You're not writing about a mob of black people in either of these books. White Odyssey is following. Hang on. You're not writing following the main characters are not black mobs in either of these books. You're basically writing and following white characters in both Melanin Apocalypse and White Odyssey. You're following white characters. So really, if white people are going to be the focus, why don't you have scenes where white people are acting, like beasts and savages and raping someone? Particularly in White Odyssey. White Odyssey, the white people are being mistreated. Why aren't white people responding in the same way that black people respond in Melanin Apocalypse? In Melanin Apocalypse, you say black people would respond this way if there was some sort of outbreak and they were dying off. They would be mobs. They would want vengeance.
Oh,
why aren't the white people? Wait a minute. You're interrupting me. Wait a minute, sir. Let me finish my question.
Sentence of death.
Wait a minute, sir. Wait a minute. Hang on a second. I want to finish my question. Why aren't there mobs of raping white people in White Odyssey? I don't see any mobs of white people who are looking for vengeance and raping black people in White Odyssey. Why isn't that present?
Well, I just told you a few minutes ago, Gus, because it wasn't appropriate to the context of the book that I was writing. Okay. If I was writing a different kind of book, perhaps it would be.
Okay. Well, that's why I said at the very beginning.
In both these books, I tried to write how people would act in particular.
You're interrupting me again. That's why I said I strongly suspect you, Mr. Bain, are a racist because I don't see any constructive value. I don't even see a purpose for why someone would need to continually write books depicting black people as rapists. I see no value to it at all unless the person writing the book is a racist and the person that they're writing these books for is also supportive of white supremacy. That's the only value that I see to it. The next question I wanted to ask, this exactly what you write about, depicting black people as rapists. This is the sort of thing that inspires, that motivates white people to practice racism. And you know this. You wrote this in Melanin Apocalypse, where you talked about the peculiar nature of particularly Southern white people and how they get motivated to defend the honor of their white women. You know that. I would say White Odyssey in total, I would think this whole book would do nothing but motivate white people to practice racism and mistreat non-white people, especially black people. And I would go to passages. This is early in the book. I want to read a passage so readers can hear listeners can hear what I read and then you can respond. This is on page 115. This is the white family that we're following. He says, this is Dad speaking. The main character, white character in White Odyssey, the dad is speaking. And he's talking about the cycles of history and how non-white people came to be in control. Lots of stories say it's because we were too generous with our immigration laws. I suppose that's part of the reason, but there were other factors too. The colored families wound up having more babies because of religious and financial reasons back in the time of the democracies. That's how come the politicians wouldn't close our borders. They wanted the colored votes. They got the votes all right. They got their sorry asses voted right out of office by the coloreds left into the country. This is 115 of White Odyssey, a few pages after the Sun references black people as niggers. This is the exact rhetoric that I hear white people saying right now. The Tea Party folks and other white people that I suspect are racist, exactly what they're saying right now and all over the world. They're saying this in Europe, other parts of the world. White people are upset. You're letting in too many non-white people, the immigrants. We don't want these wetbacks here. I've been hearing that for at least 3 to 4 years now. I could see white people reading a book like this and saying, we got to get on our job. We have got to practice racism. We are not going to let the white team fall by the wayside. Look at what the black people, they're going to rape our women. Look at what they're going to do to us. We got to get on our job and practice, maintain racism.
Gus, I think you're taking this way, way, way out of context and way too far. That's my opinion.
I think you're a racist, and I could be wrong, so no worries there. You don't think it's possible for a white person to read this book and say, hey, we need to maintain racism. White people I see things happening in this book that are happening right now. You don't think a white person could read your book and say, that's exactly what's happening right now. We got President Obama in the White House. The Mexicans are all over the place. We don't think a white person could read this book and see that happening right now.
I don't think it would encourage anybody that didn't have it in their heart to start with. Again, Gus, I'm writing about what people would do in particular circumstances.
I suspect you're practicing racism right now because that wasn't even a question, and you've done that repeatedly. So, and I mean, I'm not even surprised. Anybody who would sit down and purposely write books, I'm looking at the Y Factor right now, that creature that's on the front cover, that's what I think you feel about black people. That's how you see black people, that crazy creature in the background.
Sorry, Gus, but you're completely misinterpreting.
Okay. Well, I would encourage anyone listening, read Melanin Apocalypse, and when you keep seeing black people presented as gold-toothed, looting rapists, wow. This person, just think, how would a person who would continually write books like that and continually depict black people in that manner, how does this person feel about black people? And while you're chewing on that,
saying I continually write books like this. I do not continually write books like this. I've written 50 books, and this is the only 2 I've written concerning racial conflict. Okay? Exactly. So don't say I continually write books like this.
You've written at least 2 books, to my knowledge, where black people are depicted as crazy rapists. That's enough for me. And I want to remind people the passage from Melanin Apocalypse. I told you all this was one, in my opinion, one of the most important questions or passages, in the book. It set the tone for everything, and this is the first thing I had in mind when I read White Odyssey. And this is why I say Mr. Bain, we're talking to someone I strongly suspect is a racist. This is on page 6, Melanin Apocalypse, very beginning of the book. We start off, black male asking the main character, what would you rather be, a black man or white man? For the first time, Doug really looked at the old dark-skinned gardener. His shoes were split and taped. A much-used leather belt held up equally worn and patched jeans. His shirt was stained and wet with the pungent odor of dried sweat, and his cap was a shapeless mass. But what Doug noticed most was his color and the way his face held a reservoir of old sadness that was never absent. He didn't laugh and sing and wear nice clothes like the black men he saw on television. He was very dark, almost black. And Doug remembered now that a lot of other people were dark too, like the woman who came to clean house every week or two. He thought of his playmates and how they were all white. He thought of his parents and their friends. None of them worked outside all day in the yards or mopped floors. He hung his head, ashamed, somehow, but his child's mind had no idea why. Yet he knew the answer to the black man's question. From hundreds of overheard jokes and conversations, a cultural bias had already soaked into his little mind. He didn't really want to say anything, but his parents had taught him to always answer when an adult spoke to him. White, I guess, he muttered, looking at the old man. I'm saying, and I read this passage when you were on the program with us the first time, and you said you took this directly from your life. I'm saying that your writing shows you have been saturated in an environment of white supremacy, and I cannot conclude anything other than you think of black people in the exact racist manner that I am accustomed to seeing. You see black people, you write about black people being rapists, looters, gold-toothed crazy thugs. That's the way you depict black people in more than one of your works. So I have to conclude, hey, maybe this is really Mr. Bain. Maybe this guy is a racist. It makes sense. Your writing evidences that. I couldn't come to any other conclusion. There's no way I could read Melanin Apocalypse, White Odyssey, and think this person is not racist. This is somebody who likes black people, who thinks well of black people, and does not want white supremacy practiced. There's no way I could come to that conclusion reading any of your works that I've done so far.
Well, I'm sorry about that, Gus, because that's not the intention at all. And the scene that you described came exactly from my life, and that was my first awareness of the difference in color, and the first time that I knew that something was wrong with it, okay? And that's how come I put that scene in there.
I have no idea how what you see that is wrong is going to be corrected by writing books with black people as rapists. And you further evidence what I'm saying. You just keep saying, well, that's real. That really happens. It just happened in some Arab person raped a white woman. That's real. That's what people do. It just further enforces what I'm saying. That's really how you feel about black people. This is how black people behave.
Should I write fiction that is not real? Huh?
Truthfully,
when I write about things like this, I write about how people would actually act under certain circumstances. I can't repeat this enough.
Exactly. You can't, because every time you say it, it further enforces what I'm saying.
Every time you come up with this, it just further reinforces that I think you're misinterpreting everything.
At any rate, I would prefer to... Oh, yeah, there is one major thing I wanted to get. You have two characters in both of the books that you wrote. Melanin Apocalypse, you have Fridge, and I told you, I think everything about that is racist. You've named him after a kitchen appliance or a football player, which is no better in my opinion. And his character does nothing but worship white people in Melanin Apocalypse. The key scene, he saves a white woman from being raped. Again, maybe that's just a coincidence. That's one of the key scenes in Melanin Apocalypse where Fridge saves a white woman from being raped. I could have read that one too. At any rate, we move to White Odyssey. Now you've got a character, Krishna, I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly, non-white character, non-white male. He does the same thing, worships white people. In fact, he becomes a traitor to the non-white team. He joins the white side, fights with them, gives them information about the ship that they're going to attack that's full of non-white people. And they celebrate at the end with this character. He gets a white woman at the end, which is supposed to represent progress. Why did you have both of these non-white, who are the only non-white characters that you really get to know? Like the rest of the year, not really following non-white characters around in the books that Mr. Bain wrote, Melanin Apocalypse, White Odyssey. You're following white people. Why did you have both of these characters just worshiping white people?
Don't think... Okay, Gus. Number one, I freely admitted that I did do a couple of instances of stereotyping in Melanin Apocalypse.
Couple.
And I also said I did it without even thinking about it. Okay? Now then, I tried to make White Odyssey come out as a reconciliation between the races. Okay? And it seems like you don't even get the point.
A reconciliation between the races. Let me read this on one. Let me get this in again. The page White Odyssey ends on page 174, right? White Odyssey ends on page 174. That's the final period. Last sentence. Story is over. On page 168, you have a mob of black people raping a white woman. That... Justice, do you have any questions you would like to ask Mr. Bain, suspected racist? Your line is open.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Bain, the last time you were here, you said, I am far from a racist. If that's true, then how do you work to eliminate white supremacy?
I try to set a good example. As I also said on that program, I'm not an extrovert. I'm not a crusader. I'm not a demonstrator. I'm a very quiet, private person. But anytime I'm out in society, going with, interacting with other people, I try to set an example to anyone of how I'd like to be treated, okay? And that's the way I do it. How other people do it, that's their business.
What do you do?
I do try to set a good example by my behavior.
By doing what, though?
I just told you, by treating other people just like I would like to be treated. In other words, I ran a business for quite a number of years. When I hired people, I didn't look at color. I looked at their ability. If they were the better person, that's the one that got hired. I spent a lot of time in the military. The military is an integrated society. People get along fine there, and I loved it.
I totally disagree. What do you do to get white people to stop practicing racism, white supremacy?
I do nothing but try to set a good example, as I just told you. I'm not a crusader.
How do you help non-white people learn and understand white supremacy?
I don't try to do anything, try to get them to do anything other than set a good example, as I just repeated 3 times here. I'm not a crusader. I'm not going to go out the street and demonstrate. It's just not my nature. Some people, it is their natures.
How many black people do you hire in the military?
In the military, you don't hire anyone.
Meaning like for your business.
Oh, like for my business?
Yes.
Well, I didn't have a whole lot of people in my particular business. Now, in the other civilian jobs I did, and again, I hired the best person for the job in each instance that I could. I always made the best decision I could as to ability, and that was my criteria.
How many black people?
I'd say probably about the same proportion as it is in the race, but I really never counted.
In what race?
You know, I wasn't trying to do a quota or anything.
In what race?
Excuse me?
In what race?
What do you mean, in what race?
Because you just said in that race. I don't understand. Like, what race specifically?
I'm afraid I don't understand you. I'll repeat what I said. When I was in a position to hire people, I hired people on the basis of ability and nothing else. And as far as the numbers go, a percentage of Orientals or blacks or Hispanics, I never counted, to tell you the truth. I know I hired a good many of each, and they were all good people.
In what ways does your book, Melanin Apocalypse, help to get rid of the black people?
Listen, in the Melanin Apocalypse, this was written more as a warning about what genetic warfare can do, rather than trying to get rid of black people. Now, it's possible in the future that genetic warfare could do that. It could also get rid of whites and Arabs or anything else. You'd be surprised at what they're doing in the labs today. And it's really scary, too. You know, opens the possibility for just a few people to commit genocide.
What are some of the best things non-white people can do to work against the system of racism, white supremacy?
You're asking what white people can do to work against the system of white supremacy? Is that it? Is that your question?
What are some of the best things non-white people can do to work against the system of racism, white supremacy?
All I can say is try to be the best person you can. Same as I do. And encourage others to in your dealings. I wonder if I have time to tell a little bit of story here. My first lab supervisor's job, this was back in the early 70s, and it was in a hospital. I was running a lab, and this was in the days when in the segregated South, blacks weren't allowed to do much in hospitals other than work in the kitchen or mop floors or whatever. Okay, I had a maid that cleaned our lab, and I noticed right away that she was a hard-working person and would like to get ahead. And I laid out a program for her to do so and had her start drawing blood from patients and start learning lab procedures. And the doctors who owned the hospital cut it out right quick and said, I don't want a maid drawing blood from my patients. And I was just thinking, you know, how do you know she's not good if you never give them a chance? And here I was trying to provide an opportunity for anybody that came to work to me, if they were qualified, to advance. And I didn't give a damn what color they were. And back in those days, I got cut down right quick by my bosses. Sorry, I'd just like to get that in. That's a true story.
Do you talk to your offspring about racism?
Do I talk to who?
Oh, sorry. What is that everywhere I go, no matter the area of the world, I see images of white people?
You see images of white people?
Yes.
Is that what you said?
Yes.
Well, you see images of black people and Oriental people too, don't you? Maybe I'm misinterpreting your question.
I'm sorry?
I said, maybe I'm misinterpreting your question. You asked, why did you see images of white people? Is that what you said? Don't you see images of colored people and Oriental people?
Like why? Like everywhere I go, I see white people on images. But like why?
Open any magazine and you'll see, or look at any commercial on television, and you'll see a fair proportion of different races. I don't watch television much, but that's what I see. I don't see where you're coming from here.
Since you say you are against white supremacy, can you name
Yes,
at
I am.
least one white person who is a high-level racist white supremacist?
I don't know of anybody, but I'm sure there's plenty of them.
Why do white people keep information from non-white people?
I don't know that they do. Do they?
Yes, they do.
What sort of information?
Tons of it. They keep it in books about space, racism, a lot of information.
I'm sorry, I don't see. You haven't named any information as such that whites are keeping from blacks that I can see.
Well, actually, I don't have any more questions at this time. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you.
Context of White Supremacy. I had the break. I was able to find what I wanted from Farnham's Freehold, and I will, again, this is not Mr. Bain's book. This is Robert A. Heinlein. Now that I've said that again, on page 66 and 67, we have the main character, Hugh. He's speaking, and he's talking to his white son, Duke. Made me think of the gentleman from the films, John Wayne. Page 66. This is Duke, the son. He's talking to his father. These are both white men. And he says, Duke, he hit his father from the other side harder, knocking his father off his feet. And that's for having that nigger pull a gun on me. Hugh Farnham, that's his dad, Hugh Farnham, lay where he had fallen. Not nigger, Duke. Negro. He's a Negro as long as he behaves himself. Pulling a gun on me makes him a goddamn nigger. That is page 66 and 67. If we fast forward, this is still Farnham's Freehold. If we fast forward, this is now on page 115. 115. This is Karen, white woman. She's speaking to her white father. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, this is Karen speaking. Karen, she's speaking to her white father here. And she's talking about Joe. Joe is the black male that they just were calling a nigger. And she's explaining why she would not marry Joe. They think they might be the last people on the planet, right? And this white woman is explaining why she couldn't be in a sexual relationship with Joe. And she says, Joe is nice, but he's just a boy. Even though he's older than I am, if I said boo, he would jump out of his skin. Note that metaphor, jump out of his skin, black male. You said earlier you don't think Mr. Heinlein, you said you thought he was very liberal, not a racist. I could not agree more. You do have black people present in this book, but they are presented as being subservient, ignorant, not men, or beasts. You've got cannibals. It's the same. It's just like Melanin Apocalypse. Both of you all. It's almost laughable that I would even have a discussion about whether you or Mr. Heinlein are racist. You've got one white man, Mr. Heinlein. He's writing this book where you have a black male depicted as a cannibal, and then you've got Darrell Bain writing books where black males are gold-tooth raping looters. I mean, it's almost embarrassing to even have a discussion that these people are supposed to be against racism. I did find it interesting because we just read Huckleberry Finn, where Mark Twain uses the word nigger 213 times. I found it very interesting that Mr. Heinlein, he seems to have a great affinity for Mark Twain. He mentions Twain repeatedly in the book. He uses Twain as a part of the code for how he and his white woman are going to escape from these non-white people who have castrated his white son. Very, very interesting on a lot of levels. Yeah, I'm gonna take one call.
These scenes that you were speaking of, Gus, I believe. Now, again, I can't really speak for Heinlein, but I can tell you what I think he was trying to portray. Racism. He was showing Joe as how a black man might be in the segregated South around white people because he'd be scared to death he'd be doing something that might get him killed, okay? And he was portraying Hugh, the father, as a non-racist trying to set his son straight on these facts. That's what I think he was trying to do. And I think you, again, I think you just misinterpreted Mr. Heinlein's intentions there.
That might be. I freely concede that, or it could be that I'm correct, that you're a racist, he's a racist, and he was writing a book that was about racism, white supremacy, and perhaps... wait a minute.
I'll say this much. Every single human being in the world...
you're being really rude right now. My point, ladies and gentlemen, it could be that Mr. Bain is a racist and Mr. Heinlein is a racist. That could be, and could be that he represents refinement. In both of these books, you have white people chastise other white people to not say nigger. It certainly is the case in your book, Mr. Bain, when Randy gets chastised for calling black people niggers at the beginning of the book and other non-white people chinks. The white person that chastises him, they're not saying, don't do that, you're being a racist. She says, don't do that, we could get in trouble. And I think that is exactly what Hugh's doing in the book. What do you think about that, Mr. Bain?
I can't repeat this enough, Gus. Depicted people in certain circumstances, what they would do in these circumstances.
Rape white women.
I can't change people. I really can't. I can write about people and how they might act under certain circumstances. And that was really what I think you're misinterpreting. You're picking out certain spots in there and making me to be a racist when I'm not. Now, admittedly, as I just said, I think everybody has some prejudicial bones in their body. Everybody. Against some other group. It seems to be something in our human nature. But I think you were going through both these books and deliberately picking out things where you could depict me or Mr. Heinlein as a racist when that wasn't what we are, and the books weren't intended like that. I did indeed make a couple of mistakes stereotyping in the Melanin Apocalypse. Otherwise, I think I depicted scenes, how people would act under certain conditions, and I think I portrayed them pretty accurately.
All right. And?
Oh, I was waiting on you to ask any other questions. We're getting short on time.
I just have statements, really. I mean, I don't really have any questions about. I'm not confused. I have no confusion around your books, around you. I have no confusion. I really don't have, any pressing questions to ask that I think you would tell me honestly. I really just have a statement to conclude. I put that image up, and I think it's fitting. The image for the Y Factor, where you have whatever this black beast is in the background. I think that's how you see black people. And, if it was up to me, you would not write another book as long as you live. I would perfectly
have something. I have absolutely no control over.
Thank you. I've muted your line because we're at the hour mark, and I'm just good. Like I said, I wanted you to hear that. If it was up to me, you would not be permitted to write another book as long as you live. I wouldn't want your books burned. I would just want to make sure that black people read them. And I would say, this is what I think white people really think about you. Because he said that over and over again. I'm just keeping it real. I'm just showing you reality. I'm just keeping it real. This stuff really happens. It just happened. He reads a report of a white reporter allegedly being raped in Arabia, and that counts for black people. That confirms just what I said. See, black people are rapists. This stuff happens. I can tell you, if you read Mr. Bain's work, we're at the hour mark. Mr. Bain, thank you for joining us. We're good. If you want to hang out on the line and listen, that's fine. I'm going to share my thoughts on your book, and people called in so they can share thoughts. If you're not interested in listening, Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sending me the book, but I strongly suspect that you are a racist white supremacist. There's nothing you could say that would change my opinion. I could be incorrect, but I mean, it's laughable, in my opinion. It's laughable to even have a discussion about whether or not a white person.
Too.
I mean, he writes books about black people as rape crazy racist. I mean, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Man, whatever. I'm going to share some of your book. Hanging on the line, Mr. Bain, I'm going to share some of your book, and you can hear other callers. The best thing I could tell people is to read these books like These White People Are Racist. You will learn a ton. I read these books just to give you an idea. I don't consider myself to be super smart. I don't consider myself to be a very fast reader. I read Farnham's Freehold, which is 320 pages, and I read White Odyssey, which is 174 pages. I started these books on Friday, and I finished them this morning. And I didn't even have to read a lot this morning. I had 15 pages. I was done with White Odyssey, and I finished Farnham's Freehold this morning. I only had 15 pages to read. For me, I consider that to be a significant amount of reading in 2 days. You will learn a lot. I feel like I learned a lot about racism, white supremacy. In fact, I feel like the program would have probably been more constructive if I had just talked about these books. Like if Justice and I had just been here and read passages, it would have been more constructive. Because I just to hear a white person justify the need to write more than one book depicting black people as rapists. I mean, anyway, I'm going to read some of the parts that I thought were really interesting from these two books, and then I'll take callers, and maybe Mr. Bain will hang out and listen to see what we have to say, and he can conclude for himself. Maybe he'll think we're all crazy and we all misinterpreted his work, or maybe maybe they're on to us. Maybe these darkies are smartening up and understanding what's going on the planet. This is on page 17 of White Odyssey. Page 17. This is the dad speaking, white guy, one of the main characters in White Odyssey. He pointed to a grown white man wearing a black wig and flamboyant clothes, sauntering along the broken sidewalk. His face and hands were painted, trying to make him look like a colored. That was the fashion among whites who could afford it. I think he was wearing a false nose. As we watched, an open-air skater pulled up beside him. He passed a bag to one of the coloreds riding it and accepted one in exchange. I thought it was super interesting. I think this demonstrates white people understand what should be happening under a system of white supremacy. They understand. You're going to have black people who are attempting to look like us. You're going to have black people who will mutilate their faces, their bodies, Michael Jackson, that sort of Beyonce, get all sorts of surgery so that they can look like a white person. You're going to have that. They understand that. I also thought that he references non-white people as coloreds in this book, all throughout the book. Just that in and of itself would not be tolerated. Even white people, I think, would call that out and say, hey, 2011, that's not part of the racist code anymore. Stop saying colors. That sounds racist. And it's only tolerated in this book because the context is that it's switched, that black people are dominating and mistreating white people. So he's created a context where you're okay with non-white people being referenced as coloreds because they're in charge, they're mistreating white people. That's another thing. I think he, as I said, I totally believe Mr. Bain is a racist white supremacist. I believe that from book one, and it's exactly what I said. White Odyssey, I said, was just going to be really ugly racism from beginning to end, which it is. In this book, he calls them blackies, coloreds. They have all these names that they just get to be called for the duration of the book, and it's because of the perspective. If this book was really the opposite of Melanin Apocalypse, you would have this book from the black perspective, because Melanin Apocalypse, when they're killing all the black people in the universe, you get it from the white perspective. So if it was really the opposite, you would be following black characters in this book that's about white people being mistreated, but that's not the case. You're still white identified. You don't switch at all. You're still identified, in my opinion, with the racist perspective in this book. White people still come out on top in this book. They don't even end on the planet Earth. It ends on another planet, someplace else. And 5 pages before the end of the book, on a galaxy far, far away, you still got black males raping white women that need to be killed. In fact, I want to fast forward to this scene. This is 169, so this is just a page or so after the big... Oh, this is the next page after the big rape. So this is 169. After the two forces merged, it was mostly a matter of separating out the combatants from the captives. They had a big race war. The white people won. A task made relatively easy by the variation in skin color, although there wasn't much difference in some cases, and when we had to be careful of the ones on our own side who participated in the attack. They got some black people to join them. A few black people went crazy and tried to slaughter as many white colonists as they could when they saw they were doomed to defeat. Before their frenzied killing got very far, they were mobbed and ripped to pieces. And I just want to contrast this. When you have crazy raping black people, I want to contrast that to when you have a white character die in the film, in the movie. This is on page 172, so we're 2 pages from the end of the book. The main character, the white woman, she dies, or the main character's mom in this book, she dies in the big race war finale. Dad could barely get the words out. Mom just gave up. That's all we can figure. All her life, she struggled to understand why we were treated so badly. Then we had a chance to go and find a new home where no one would bother us, yet chose to stay and fight some more. She couldn't take it. He looked away. She might have gotten into the treatment chips and overdosed. I don't want to know. Best just leave it be. Try to remember her as she was, the few times she was really happy, and always remembered she cared for us, perhaps too much. And they go on. They talk and have memories about how she cared for them. And, they have a big to-do. They make a memorial for her. And they talk about what they're going to do to make sure that they remember her life and what she gave to them. Very different from the way when black people, are slaughtered and killed and blood is bursting out of them. You never hear it. Oh, man. It's a shame he died. Let's see. This is on page 159. Oh, yeah. This is on page 159. Page 159. So this is a little bit before the big battle. The white people have overthrown a small group of non-white people. They've taken control. And one of the non-white people, his name is Charisma. I think that's how you pronounce it. Charisma. That's what I said, and he was here, and he didn't correct me. So Charisma is the black male, and he turns traitor. He joins the white group, and he has a big scene where he saves the white people. He kills some non-white people who are trying to fight these white folks, and he kills them, and the white people congratulate him, and they pat him on the back, and they bring him into their club and give him a big title, and it's the exact same thing that happens in Melanin Apocalypse. It's fridge. It's like the only way, if you are a black person, that you can be redeemed or have any good qualities in Mr. Bain's writings, at least in the books that I've read, you have to be against black people. You have to be in total support of white people. If you're doing that, bing, you get to be an okay black person. If you're not, you're a crazy, looting, rapist nigger. This is on page 159. And they're talking about problems procreating. If we can induce enough men and women to consider intermarriage, we'll have to do something else. The question was settled for her since she had paired up with Charisma. He's a black male. But she knew there would probably have to be other options than hoping enough interracial pairs would form. You're thinking about force? I hope. You're not thinking about force, excuse me. You're not thinking about force, I hope, Charisma, the black male, said. Of course not, Dad assured him. At least we're not going to force him into pairing with another, not of his or her choice. But if worse comes to worse, we may have to resort to artificial insemination. Black people and their struggles to white people and their struggles to procreate. Wait a minute. Are you serious? I'm afraid so. Dad looked around the table at the other members. Unless someone comes up with a better suggestion. Let's see. I'm skipping down a little bit because they go on to celebrate the fact that Krishna, this black male, and this white woman are going to be in this sexual relationship. And that's, what a great thing this is. This represents we're really making progress here. Let's see. Page 69. This is still White Odyssey. Page 69. Okay. Okay. So this is the white people. They have revolted. They have captured some of the black people on a different planet, right? And they're talking about what to do with these black people that they captured, okay? So we're going to continue to question the black people until we're certain we've gotten all the information we can. Then, if there's no further change in the situation or in the stability of the administration building by tomorrow afternoon, we're going to ask for volunteers to enter it and see what we can salvage for ourselves. Dad paused just long enough for some man to shout, "What about the black people? What do we do with those slime bugs?" That's the word they use instead of niggers in this book. They call them slime bugs. Hang the bastards. See, first thing, hang them. Kill them. Or other more creative suggestions for disposing of the black people. Staking them out in our compost. Man, I don't even want to read it. This is so ridiculous. That's what I mean. If I was confused, I would have read this and been like, oh, maybe this guy, they say he's against racism. I'm saying if that is racism, white supremacy has done such a good job, I'm certain. I know there are non-white people who could even read foolishness like this and say, man, this white guy's against racism. This guy is a regular Tim Wise. This Darrell Bain is on it. I know that is happening because if I was more confused, I would probably be one of those people reading this because it wouldn't take that much. It would just take maybe one white person to say this book is against racism. You're misinterpreting exactly what he said. You're misinterpreting it. That's all it would take. One white person to say, you misinterpreted that, Gus. I think you read that wrong. That would have been enough to make me doubt and say, yeah, I am black. So yeah, that is possible. I mean, white people have done such a good job. I'm telling you, I know there are black people out there who have read this stuff and think, yep, this is counter racism. This is against white supremacy. That Darrell Bain, man, this is really going to help. And I'm saying it is the exact opposite. The best you can do, read these books and think this is a racist writing these books. If you read it from that perspective, I think you will get a ton out of it. Even just that, I'm not going to pick it up and read it anymore because I'm just disgusted overall, but hang them. Put them in a compost pile. That's what I mean. This would be totally unacceptable. To me, the only thing I can give him is that he's skilled enough to give you the context in the book where he can write and talk about black people like that, and it doesn't stand out as racist. Where you can say, hang them, kill them, let's put them in a compost pile. Where you can say that sort of thing, and nobody thinks it's racist. In fact, people would say something is wrong with you if you pointed it as racist. That's about the only thing I can give him. But, if you see through that, it's just total white supremacy, and I mean some of the worst white supremacy. It has white genetic annihilation dripping all over it. The sexual references are all over the place. I've read some of them. I told you Melanin Apocalypse. He references balls over at least 3 times. There are direct references to balls. There are people castrated all throughout Farnham's Freehold, which is Mr. Heinlein's book. People are being castrated, and particularly you have black males castrating white people. I mean, this is incredible, but it's all over the book. You've got a white woman. She dies in childbirth in Farnham's Freehold, and the child dies in Farnham's Freehold. Melanin Apocalypse and White Odyssey, you've got black males raping white women all over. The 2 that I quoted from these 2 books, these are not the only passages where black males are raping white women. It happens throughout the book, and there's a constant threat in White Odyssey that the black people are going to rape the white women. One of the main characters, her name is Kenny, and they dress her up like a male. They cut her hair. They do all these things so that she will be less likely to be the victim of a black rapist. It's just all over. Even little passages. I want to, if I can find that the quote that I read at the beginning, to read it slow, because I hope that sticks out. That's the sort of thing, it wouldn't have popped out to me when I was reading before, that sort of line. I'll go back and read it again, so I'm not just making it up off the top of my head. But let's see. Let's see here. This is on page 110 of Farnham's Freehold. Okay, page 110. She says, this is a white man. Yeah, keep that in mind too. This is a white man talk. He says, this black male is being a gentleman under trying circumstances. Don't make it harder. Let that load wait, and we'll take it all up at once. Now, if this was just, regular old whatever book, it wouldn't stand out, whatever. Maybe I wouldn't connect it to what I think is happening in the book. When you have a book with constantly talking about castration, sluts, and concubines, every page revolves around something sexual. Every page, and it's the same thing as Melanin Apocalypse. The white people are in a bunker, a bomb goes off, and they have sex. In fact, the white woman gets pregnant immediately after a bomb goes off. It's like violence is an aphrodisiac for white people, and I would say specifically racism, white supremacy is an aphrodisiac. Darrell Bain makes it real clear in his book. He has a scene where the white woman comes in and she's bloody. They've been killing black people, and her and the main character embrace and hug. They haven't seen each other. It happens over and over again where these white people are sexually engaged after killing a black person or shooting a black person or some sort of war. It's over and over again. All I can say is racism, white supremacy, ton of it. I really didn't have questions because I just felt like, this guy's a racist. He's not answering honestly, and I feel like I could get more constructive time just sharing my view on what's in the book as opposed to, hearing him babble and tell stories about, non-white maids that he had in his business. Justice, did you have any thoughts about Mr. Bain, what he shared today, what you heard, any of what I read?
I just think that, he was just practicing racism. He's white. I suspect he's racist, And like his books, too, like when you were reading them, they were really violent.
They are. And it's violence against, black people. That's what these books revolve around, violence against black people. And it's justified. I think that to me, I guess those will be my last 3 points. And then, Justice, if you want to share anything else, feel free, and we can hit the phones and all that. But it's justified violence. That's why he kept saying that. He emphasized that in the last book, that there had to be some stereotyping. He had to have black people as gold-toothed, thug rapists that had to be there, because if you have that, then you're justified in committing genocide. You're justified in calling them blackies and slime bugs and niggers. You're justified in blowing their brains out and watching it ooze out their face. All that is acceptable if they're thug, rapist, crazy killers, which he consistently portrays them to be. The other thing, one of the most staggering features of all of this, white genetic annihilation, I hope that hasn't been missed. White genetic annihilation, Dr. Francis Cress-Welsing, it's all over the place. These books, White Odyssey ends, you have a black group of black males raping white women. Then you have the black people slaughtered, and then it ends with a pregnant white woman giving birth to another white woman. That's how it ends. They big time revolve around white genetic annihilation and white people's struggles, fighting, doing anything they have to procreate, to survive as a white teen. That huge element in all three of these books. the other thing that really stood out to me, all three of these books, written by white men, Darrell, Bain, Robert A. Heinlein, suspected white supremacists. The only reason I'm saying that is because I don't want to name call. I want to be very clear. The only reason I'm saying suspect is because I don't want to name call. These gentlemen wrote books where black people are manipulating gravity, building time machines, and exploring other universes. All of these books depicting black people doing all of these things, white supremacy no longer exists. I think that is incredible. That to me is like maybe white people see something in black people that we don't see. Maybe that could be happening. But if they see that in black people, this could be happening if there's no white supremacy. Black people are building time machines. They're traveling to other planets. Incredible. I hope people keep that in mind. Anytime somebody says, from now on, anytime somebody says it's going to take 5,000 years to replace white supremacy, it's going to take, 10,000 years, 1,000 years, 10 years. Think, Darrell Bain, who writes books about crazy rapist black people, wrote a book where black people were traveling to other planets and manipulating gravity without white supremacy. Just think about that. Say, man, even crazy, suspected racist Darrell Bain thinks we could do a lot. We are capable of so much. Man, this system could be gone immediately. Just understand it for what it is. And a big part of that obstacle, I think, is not believing that Darrell Bain and the gang are not racist. Every one of them, I don't care how old they are, 2, 4, 44, 84, 124, I don't care if they are white. Darrell Bain and the gang, you already know. Keep that in mind. Do not be budged from it. I don't care what anybody has to say. They'll do that too. You made a mistake. You misinterpreted something. You're crazy. They'll say that. Pay them no mind. That's what it is. That's what's happening. As long as you understand that, you will be a lot less confused, and I think you will make much better choices about what to do given your circumstances. I could be incorrect. Justice, do you have any other thoughts, questions, comments?
Nope. Not at this time, but yeah.
I will hit the phone lines. I'm going to take a commercial really quick so I can get Mr. Williams and Justice's commercials in, and we will be right back. Context of White Supremacy.
Is racism hurting you? On issues of race, are you unable to speak, think, and act with clarity and confidence? Are you tired of laughing when nothing is funny, smiling when you are not happy, agreeing when you really disagree? At counterracism.com, you can learn specific strategies and techniques to counter the behaviors of the people who practice racism in all areas of activity, using words correctly, following counter-racist logic, even counter-racist science projects designed to reveal what racism is, how it works, and how to counter it. The open-source code writing format allows you to pick and choose from a variety of counter-racist suggestions so you can produce the code that works for you. Stop by counterracism.com today and help replace racism with justice.
That's counter-racism.com.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Cows. This is Justice here at Blog Talk Radio. If you want to learn, listen, understand, and question, go to blogtalkradio.com/victim-of-racism, and for more information on racism and white supremacy, go to my blog, justdojusticetoday.blogspot.com. My email address is justice.asap@yahoo.com. Replace white supremacy with justice, ASAP. You're just saying just buckets and buckets of words.
Context of White Supremacy. This is a deviation from what I normally attempt to do. I normally attempt to just get the white person to talk, but I really didn't feel like he was going to break down his work and give up useful information and just be truthful. I mean, it's hard to be truthful when you've written a book where black people are raping white women every other page. Yeah, it's a slight deviation, but I mean, I'm not really confused about what's happening there. He told me the most significant thing I needed to know when I had him on the previous program, and that scene that I read this program from Melanin Apocalypse. The young white child, black guy asks him, would you rather be white or black? That scene right there lets me know everything I need to know about Darrell Bain. Any book I'm going to pick up and read that he's written, including the Y Factor, when you got that big black creature on the front with like 20 arms and yellow eyes. I know everything I need to know about Darrell Bain from that scene. That scene right there lets you know I am a white person. I know I'm a white person, and I know what that means. And you should, too, if you've been listening to this program. Just that scene. He said, that's real. That came from my life. That right there, that's everything you need to know. There was a listener, loyal listener. She's been tuning in, I think, from at least a year and a half or so at this point, I believe. And maybe not that, maybe a year. And she recommended Darrell Bain, Melanin Apocalypse. And she said she didn't understand why I felt that was so significant. The scene in Melanin Apocalypse that I just described. And it's like Mark Twain, Huckleberry Finn. It is the white child demonstrating, I understand racism, white supremacy. I know what it means to be a white person. I know what it means to be a black person. I know how I am supposed to relate to you as a non-white person, me being a white person. I mean, that's everything you need to know. That's everything you need to know. That scene right there, in my opinion, is way more informative about Darrell Bain and about his literature than anything I think he said on the program today. I'm sure he did some constructive things, but that scene right there in Melanin Apocalypse, I mean, that is the whole kit and caboodle right there. And I also wanted to make sure, before I hit the phone lines, number one, context. I will, again, that is an extraordinary skill because I think, and maybe you all can comment, the folks that call in, I think if you read White Odyssey, I don't know how many folks out listening have read this book, but I think you could read this book, and within the context of this book, it really would not shock you to hear black people being talked about. Hang them. Let's put them in the trash compost. It really wouldn't shock you. It wouldn't disturb you in this context because he has set things up so that you are rooting against the black people. And I'm saying in this book, it just stands out more because of the context. Melanin Apocalypse is also there because he's consistently presenting these images of black people as rapists. It provides a context where it doesn't really seem like you want to identify with black people. You want to stick up for them. You're okay with them being mistreated. So I think that is a skill to be able to use words to erode context or to create an entirely new false context where things can be said and they'll have a totally different meaning. White people are very good at that. Erosion of context and creating a false context. You want to make sure you work against that. Hence, context of white supremacy. The last point, I just want to, and this is a great illustration of that. And this is like a really slick racist joke. It's a really slick nigger joke. This is the same way I started the program, page 6 of White Odyssey. Maybe so. This is the main character, Randy, talking. I don't want to park cars or take care of old niggers or chinks. Now, number one, this is what white people have done to black people. That's why I said you can learn things from this because the way that they talk about white people in this book is just how the system of white supremacy destroys black people. So you can learn. But it goes on. The mom fusses at him for saying niggers. I've told you about that kind of language. It could get your father and I locked up and you thrown into one of those horrible juvenile facilities. Don't ever let me hear you utter those words again. Speak either. You hear me, young man? She doesn't say anything about, hey, that's kind of racist. You don't want to say that? Nothing about that at all. The only problem she has with this word is that it's against the rules. That's the only problem here. Real slick nigger joke. Black people can be referenced as niggers, and you're not upset. You're not thinking this character is racist. The only problem here is he's breaking the rules, and it might endanger some white people. That's all. Refinement. I'm going to hit the phone lines. If you want to call in, the number is 347-215-6071. Press 1 if you want to speak. And Tater Pie's on the line. I miss Tater Pie so much. I can't say that I am like the most hardworking non-white person on the plantation, because I definitely am not. But I have been reading a lot. Since last Sunday, I think I've read over 1,100 pages for the program. So I have really been tied up time-wise. So I haven't been in touch with very many folks, and I've been out of communication with Tater Pie. But she is listening. Always wonderful to hear from her. She has been hard at work on videos. I posted some of them on the page for the Cows YouTube page and on Facebook. But definitely one of my favorite listeners, investors, best in the world, Tater Pie. Everybody, I'm just going to put everybody that called in on the line, as long as we can keep the background noise, down, and people are using their mute button. So if you called in and you have a hand up, I'm just going to open your line up. So that'll be Non-Mightywick. Let's see, the person who called in from 3193. The person or the two people that called in from a blocked number, and the person that called in from 3358. Oh, and the person that called in from, I guess you're on Skype maybe, Nefer something. Nefer, I don't know what that is. Nefer something. If you called in from Skype and you got a hand up. Your line is open, and I'm going to get Ross 43 as well. But all of your lines are open. Feel free. Just try to keep the background noise down.
Greetings.
Greetings. Hi,
Greetings.
Let me be the first to say I don't think I'm going to this is 3358. I'm not going to support this guy's book at all. I just have a question for you, Gus. You read his books. This one about the blacks in the future doing all these things. What was their so-called motivation to all of a sudden stop building and start raping white people?
Which time? I mean, it happens so many times.
I don't care which time. I mean, if it's happening like that, what is the motivation for the first and the second book? Really, I just want to know what was supposedly so special about these white women in the second book. I think you're talking about that they had to dress up a female as a male. What was the motivation from going from all these scientific achievements to bestiality? What is the motivation? I mean, is he trying to see himself or white people doing this? Because it sounds like he's writing about white people history and trying to place it in black people's. I mean, I don't know. Help me understand what's going on with that, because I'm not gonna read his book.
Oh, I wouldn't. I certainly would not encourage anyone to do so. I hope it has not sounded like I'm promoting, anyone to go out and read his material. I read it, for the program. I learned, but I would tell non-white people, you can get like a free copy, and you read it with the understanding that a white person who is a racist wrote this book. Or if you read Farnham's Freehold, same thing. A white person who is racist wrote this book. If you read it that way, I think you can learn, and you can do exactly what you just said. Read this as the history of white people. Even though they're talking about black people, this is just talking about what white people do to us. If you read it that way, you can learn a ton.
Okay, but what was the motivation in the book?
For the black people raping the white women?
Yeah. What was his motivation? How did he make it? Why they did it or why they started doing it?
I'll go to the scene that I quoted. I don't believe he really gives any motivation as to why they started doing this. I'm going to look at the preceding paragraphs to see if there's anything giving, why they're doing this, what it was supposed to accomplish. After more talk, we voted. Somebody's eating. If you could mute your line, because I'm really not interested in hearing forks and plates clinking in the background. That's really, really rude. Thank you. Let's see. Be ready to attack the first sign of unprovoked killing. Yeah, it doesn't really. I could read it, but I mean, there's nothing here that's giving you motivation. This is what they hope to accomplish. They were upset about something. Nothing. All it says is kept them in all the time this was going on. We read it ourselves to attack. It would be another charge across an open meadow, and almost certainly whites would be put out front to shield the black people. The black people were going to use the white people as shields. They cared not a whit how many of us died, so long as it kept them from giving up their power. The standoff came to a head when they dragged 3 white women out in front of us and raped them in plain sight. See, it just goes. I mean, it's not presented as they were upset about this. They're not even given names. Like, it's not Ted. It's not characters we've been following. It's just random black people come out to rape white women. I mean, that's the way it happens every time. I think it goes down in Melanin Apocalypse like that too. Like, it doesn't.
What I find strange is he kept saying that that this is how the reaction of these people, as though he never gave it any depth of thought of the reaction and why. So I mean, he can't really even explain himself on why he would do certain actions or go in depth on why that character is acting that way. So
he's racist. That's why I didn't have any questions. It makes sense when you just say, "Oh, he's racist."
I'm really wondering if he wrote the book. He can't really give you any information on I heard his first interview. I listened to it again. He didn't really give us any information, background information on the characters and their mindset. So
they're racist.
It's a good question if he even wrote the book. If he just wrote the book, he has no concept of how black people would react. He probably never even asked questions on how they would react, or if this situation happened, did some kind of research on an average research of how would black people react if this happened or if that happened, or even just looked at history. If we don't even have a history of going out and raping white women just generally, just out on a whim, then what is his motivation?
Racism, white supremacy. Racism, white supremacy. It is.
And
I want to make sure.
Confusion.
I want to make sure that's very clear. I have no doubts about any of those sentiments. I'm not interested. I'm hearing a lot of background noise. He's not interested in any sentiments about how black people would act or react truthfully. He's not interested in researching. He is interested in practicing white supremacy, period. If you look at it, it makes total sense why he would depict black people that way. Everything about it makes sense. If you just say, oh, this person is racist, their total objective is racism, white supremacy. Makes perfect sense. The 404, did I hear you on the line?
Oh, yes. Greetings to you and to Justice and to the other listeners and callers. What I was going to say to the caller before that asked you the question that you attempted to answer, why he said he could not understand it, because white people put themselves, they try to project onto other ethnicities what they have done. Their history is to go to other lands, rape and pillage the people, commit genocide, take things without paying for it. So that is why he said he wants to give it reality to the characters, because he's coming from his point of view, because that is how they have always operated. No other ethnic groups have ever done the things that they have done. So that is his reality. But he wants to put it on to the other ethnic groups, especially blacks, because now that they're projected onto us and say, okay, all we do, we wear gold teeth, we rape, we eat chicken and watermelon, and we lazy, and we just want to sit around. If we were so lazy, this country and the rest of the Western world would not have been built so that other groups could come here and pull themselves up by their bootstraps because they haven't done anything and they want to tell us we have to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps when we've already done the work.
The person that called in, 9674, your line is open as well. Nefer, you know what it is. Your line is open too.
Hey, Gus, this is 818. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi. I just wanted to say, listening to the guest, like, for the second time, seriously, like, it's just so obvious he's practicing racism even in the way. Now, at first I gave him the benefit of the doubt and said he's an older man. Maybe he has a hearing problem. But I notice whenever he's talking to Justice, it's always, I didn't catch what you said. I didn't understand what you said. What do you mean? It was clear to me when she said, why is it that everywhere, no matter where you go in the world, you always see pictures of white people, i.e. non-white places, you always see white imagery. But you can go to a white, so-called white country and not see tons of images of non-white people. That should be pretty plain for him to understand. But it sounded like he was playing a lot of games. And I just thought to myself, even when I talked to my grandfather, who I kept telling you, I don't know if he's white, you know, they say he's black, but I don't know. I was talking to my grandfather, who anybody would look at and say, that's a white person. My grandfather has been more honest with me about racism, white supremacy, and the things he's seen than this man has. And I bet if he walked in with this man, he would look at him, he was another white man, and just be chattering away and probably be much more honest than he was being on the show.
Agreed. Because in order for you to commit genocide on people, and you have to dehumanize them. Because, as you said, we would have read this book, and I know I'm guilty of reading a lot of books and seeing imagery on television and say, oh, yeah, these people need to be cast away or thrown away. But now that I've come into understanding racism, white supremacy, this is what they do to you subconsciously. You keep getting these imagery, and you start looking at other non-whites, and you start thinking of them as being less than human, and you can walk away. You can see things being done to them or by them, and it would not affect you in an emotional way. And that is what this is all about.
Ross 43, you're with us as well. Your line, you should be able to talk whenever you feel like it.
Greetings. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, this is Nefera Tai Mayat. Yes.
Nefera. Say it one more time. Nefera
Tai Mayat.
Nefera Tai Mayat?
Yes, it's a Kemetic name.
Okay.
Yes. I heard the first series when he did, when the last time he was on, and I wanted to ask him a question. He said that he don't believe in white supremacy. He don't agree with anything. I mean, he don't agree with everything about white supremacy. I wanted to ask him the question, but my mic got mute. What is it? What part of white supremacy that he actually don't believe in? I wanted to know, because a lot of times Caucasian people, they don't realize that they practicing racism. Like I'm a registered nurse and I work in a hospital. All the time I have colleagues saying racist remarks, and they don't think, as Caucasian people, they don't think that is actually racist, but they not in our skin. They don't know how we feel, so they keep this perpetual belief that they not a racist, but they don't know what they saying. It's just ignorant. And even for the part when he was saying he hired people of other ethnic groups, you know, I work in a hospital. It's everybody there, you know. I got hired by a doctor who was a racist. Or he didn't want to give us fair salary, you know. And when he was a Jewish doctor, and when I know my history extremely well. You And when I went to him, we was all sitting down having lunch, and it was like Rosh Hashanah or something, and I broke down everything that I know about my history. He got angry and fired me the next day, because they want to keep this whole thing of how superior they are, and how great they are, but they don't look at the things that they do to keep this racism going. I can, even with the doctor, I told him, I said, I don't have a problem with you firing me. I understand why you fired me, because I do not bow down to nobody. I want to be treated fairly how I treated you. It wasn't nothing I did. I did my job. I'm not going to kiss nobody's ass. That's one thing I won't do.
If you could watch the language, I think I read April. Thanks.
I'm sorry, but I don't do that. I do my job and I leave. If you gonna, he just want. A lot of times, a lot of Caucasian people want black people to, calico behind them, and when they see a stronger person that know about their history, that know who they are, that know their capabilities, they feel uncomfortable with that. I mean, he could have wrote a book that could uplift black people, but he chose not to. He chose to keep this whole thing of negative stereotypes going on. So I mean, I don't see where his book is helping anybody.
Can I ask the caller that just spoke a question?
Hang on one second, because I'm hearing are you all hearing that static, or is that just me?
Yeah. No, I hear it.
Okay. Okay, I got it. Ross, I think that's coming from your line. Somehow it's not muting. Yeah, and everybody can pick that up. So I try to keep the background distortion down. My bad. Go ahead, whoever that was that had a question, feel free.
This is 818. I wanted to ask the caller that just spoke. You said a lot of times you don't think white people know that they're saying or doing racist things, or you don't think they know what they're saying. And then you said that sometimes you think that when they see a strong, I guess, non-white person, they will say or do things to try to put you in your place. To you, does that not seem like they are consciously aware of the fact that they're practicing white supremacy, whether they put the name on it or not? If they're aware that they're saying or doing something to put you in your place because you asserting yourself is a threat to them, do you not think that in doing that they are consciously practicing white supremacy?
Well, it depends on the person. With my case with the so-called Jewish doctor, he knew, he knew what he was doing. In some cases, you'll have like other doctors that's from out, that's not from this country, or some that are, and they just blatantly, say racist jokes, And
are these white doctors?
Yes, white doctors, and there are also other ethnic doctors, like Arab doctors from other countries. And for me, it was hard for me because I was in nursing field since I was 16 years old. I'm 37 years old now, and we were trained, a certain way to always respect doctors. And right now, it's like doctors that I deal with is like really outspoken about with the racism now. It's like more. I'm hearing more and more now because how this country have went, with BET and all the other things that's going on. We are not looked at in the same light as we used to, like in the 70s, And they feel, like when I can understand where the gold teeth came from, but I'm from New York, and we might have started that whole gold tooth thing, but only the South now is wearing gold teeth. I mean, it's a whole difference in environment now, and for him to even put that in the book, this is how he see us,
If I may interject with a caller from New York that was mentioning the gold teeth situation, that is totally incorrect to ascribe it to blacks. If you went back to the Holocaust and you saw what the Germans did with the Jews, they were taking their teeth out because it had gold in it. Whites in Europe and Eastern Europe were putting gold in their mouth before blacks were doing it. So it is not something that's a black thing. We like to make it seem that it's a black thing, but there are old Europeans from Italy and other parts of Europe that do wear gold in their mouth. And you were speaking of the racism between the Arabs and the other non-whites. These people are trying to keep their honorary white past, especially with the war on Islam and everything else. These people are trying to blend in this to become as mainstream as possible, and the quickest way to do it is to transfer their hatred towards black people. That is the quickest way for a lot of these non-whites to move up and to get closer to the white supremacy.
I understand what you were saying with the gold teeth, but he was referring to it as not as the Caucasian. I could understand where it started. It might have started with Caucasian people, but now, like the rappers now, and from when I was in the 80s, I had a gold teeth. I had one, but the dentist told me how it would rot in your teeth. I took it out my mouth. But the rappers now, they wear gold teeth. And that's what he was referring to. And in the South, it's more concentrated with the stereotype that he was going on with the gold teeth, because now in the South, more African American, well, now I would say more black people are wearing gold teeth, because now the South, what happened with rap, the Southern rappers are taking the rap from when we were in the 80s and we stopped wearing the gold teeth. Now they're still wearing the gold teeth in the South, and he's from the South, so he's seeing this, and that's where I was coming from, where I was stating that he was talking about the gold teeth and referring to black people.
And I can concur with that, because it is probably still older blacks in the South. They still have their gold teeth in their mouth, so yes, that is a problem, but the origination of it, it's a white thing, it's a European thing. And it just is a recent phenomenon with the blacks within the past 70 years or so that they have started doing it.
I just think we shouldn't expect white people to be accurate or truthful about anything regarding black people, because more white people get arrested for crime, but they still push the stereotype that black people are the problematic criminal element here.
And there's also, with him, with that rape thing, it's also, because I'm a nurse, I work in the emergency room. A lot of Caucasian people that are doing rapes, it do not get reported. As a nurse, the doctor would come in there, and it's Caucasian people that rape black women, because I'm gonna say it how it is. It's a lot of black women that are saturated in the mind and the fantasies of what they see on TV, and they see these Caucasians as people that they want to be with. They end up in a date rape situation, and the police in New York do not report it. They might go and they might say, oh, they'll just try to make it like the female is actually the one that's caused the rape. You was there, and I talk to these women all the time. And these cases do not get reported, and they would not get publicized on the news. So I don't even see where all of this, black men are raping all these Caucasian people. Black men don't even have, white women want to be black so bad, and black women is like, I can't even say, because for me, I know who and what I am. I try to teach every black woman that's around me who they are. It's just a whole mind-washing situation with us, And a lot of the women that are raped, they are in a situation because of the white supremacy thinking in their mind.
As a black male, I do know for a fact that white women, you ain't got to rape a white woman.
No.
If I've had so many white women approach me, and many of them have already decided in their mind that I was going to be their boyfriend or lover. And once I already got it in my mind that I wouldn't have any sex with any other white women, I put that to a complete stop. And and you should see the faces of these women.
Mm-hmm. Rejection.
When they are rejected from a black person. I didn't realize it then, but I look back on it, especially after Nero had described his situation with the white woman. I sat back and I looked back at my life, and I said, "Wow, that's true." I mean, I was in positions like that. I could, I've never really got into it where I would be trapped like that, but I can see how I could have. But the white women are very, very aggressive, and I can understand. A lot of my partners are married white women. Out of the blue, I mean, I'm like, what do you see? And many of them aren't really that cute. I mean, I'm like, man. So it's obviously they're under a spell. So.
Well, if you listen to, and what?
Go ahead.
I didn't mean to interrupt you. If you had listened to Pam from the Trojan Horse and what she was stating in her previous broadcast, white women, they can be freaky deaky, and I've been to colleges with them, and I know how they operate. They can be freaky deaky with the brothers and do things in the bedroom with them in order to trap them, and that's what that is what they get them with, because they could look as ugly as sin, but because they are freaks in the bedroom, and they would come back and say, well, you black sisters, y'all don't want to do this and y'all don't want to do that, but white women will do those things to them. Their noses are wide open. These brothers' noses become wide open, and therefore they get trapped into the physical, and they run off and they go with them. And it doesn't take much in order for a brother to get himself caught up into the system or to be put on papers. That is why I tell my sons all the time, be careful of who you socialize with, because you don't even have to have sex with them. You could be drinking, they can rip their clothes off, and they can scream rape. The police wouldn't even have to check them out or do anything. But you're a black man, you're a white woman, they're going to put you in cuffs, and they're going to haul you off and put you in the slammer for a few days until they verify if her story is true or not. In the meantime, you're fingerprinted and you're photographed.
I can agree to some of that, but I've introduced friends of mine to black women, and they would end up being with the woman, and the woman, the black woman, would be maybe a little too aggressive with him. I don't know. If she really likes him, she's going to do what she wants to do. And sometimes that scares the brother. She just knows, what was it? One of my friends said, oh, she just knows how to do too much. And I said to myself, that doesn't even make no sense. Because if she would have been a white woman, that would have been something you would expect it.
Because of this,
and he would not have had a problem with it. So I was like, okay, are you? I mean, I don't know if you got a set standard or not, but I think some of these brothers just make an excuse to be with the white woman instead of being with the black woman, and part of that maybe. Because of money issues. If you're going to be with a black woman, you got to understand it. Or some of her family may be in poverty, and you already know your family's in poverty, and you don't want to be in poverty no more. With the white woman, you don't expect that to happen, and you think your status is going to step up higher. I don't think it's got anything to do with the bedroom. I think that's matter of fact, I know that's a lie. That's a lie. I was in the Navy. I know that's a lie. I just know that's a lie. I ain't met a white woman that did anything no different than any black woman that I've met, or any other non-white woman. So I think that's
real quick. The people listening in, we got like 60 seconds left. If you want to dial in, you should call right now 347-215-6071, and if you want to speak, you should press 1. Go ahead.
I hope we're not having this.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I hope we're not going back to this one because I think we talked about this kind of subject, Gus, especially with me and Gus, a few times already, and concerns of the differences of because I'm a black male that was married to a white female, and I've had a child by a white female. So there are some differences between a relationship between black females and white females.
Well, what is the difference?
Well,
other than a black female knows what you're thinking before you come out to mouth with it. When something goes down, she already knows what you're thinking. You ain't even got to say anything to her because she's on the same level as you. Now,
you mean on an intellectual level?
I'm talking about, yes, on the intellectual level. If something happens to you and you need to explain or you feel you need to vent to that black woman of a situation that only happens to quote-unquote black people or non-white people, you don't even really have to say anything to her to get in depth of why this happens, or you don't have to explain in depth why you think something happens that is racist or whatever, or could be racist. You don't even have to argue with many black women on that issue. So other than that difference, what could be a difference between a white woman and a black woman?
That hasn't been true for me. I just wanted to get that in for the record. That has not been true for me, having black females who automatically understand racism and you don't have to explain or they already know. That has not been the case for me, black females and black males. I just wanted to get that in.
Yeah, I have to go along with Gus in that. I've actually experienced the reverse.
I haven't seen it though.
I know, but I'm just saying, like, coming from where I'm coming from Texas, the South down here, I've seen the exact opposite. And there are earlier shows that, we've had this discussion, that I've had the exact opposite experience, and then we got down to the reasons of why. But we'll go over that quickly again. Like, down here, when I try to talk to a black female and let her know about my financial status and why my financial status is this within the context of white supremacy, this and that, I've gotten into more conflicts in talking about white supremacy and racism with a black female than I have with a white female. And one of the relationships that I've had with a white female was because we were always comfortable about talking about race. So with a black female, most of the time, they're kind of the ones that I've dealt with anyway, because all black females are not the same, but the ones that I've come into contact with and had social contact with refuse to talk about white supremacy or racism or how it's practiced or how it sets a black man back and how it takes the black man out of his role as an adult in the workplace, not having him in the workplace. You know what I mean? They're less affected by that because they themselves have jobs.
Which is exactly the white supremacy at its finest. What you're seeing is the younger generation. When we're the older ones, we're not telling them, and they feel they're so white identified and they want to blend in, that they're believing this myth that there's no such thing as racism or there's not a problem because I'm having mine, until it slaps them in the face. And then all of a sudden they come back into reality that, well, yes, indeed, there is a problem. But we are not telling these children. We are trying to shield them, thinking that it will protect them when it is doing the opposite.
But a lot of this also have to do with us not knowing our history. Unless you know your history, you are bound to repeat the past, and that's what's going on. I mean, like I said, is a lot of girls got raped that police brainwashed them to thinking that it was their fault. And just because they have that home mindset of not knowing the situation at hand of how come everything is so set against them, how come they have to blend in and be so submissive to this system, is the reason why all of this is going on now. For me as a female, I was also like that until I learned my history. And when I learned my history, I taught other women. I own my own business. I own my own land. I have my own school. I used to work in the health field, but I don't work in it now. I have my own health insurance company. I mean, it's so much. It will empower us, and this is the reason why I was so upset at the book. It's so much history that we have that he could have took anything to uplift. So this is the reason why I know he's a racist, because there's so much history about us. It's pyramids in the United States people don't know about. It's so much stuff that could uplift these women. And even as I can even understand what the brother was talking about. Like when my husband, I've been married since I was 18 years old to I'm 38 years old now. We was together all that time. And when he used to come to me and he used to explain all the stuff that he had to deal with, I didn't want to hear it, because I went to college, I had my job, I'm making more money than you, so I can understand where these women are coming from, because I was once that woman. I would never think to own my own business, to even own my own land at least. We are so brainwashed with all of this white supremacy, and the youth have to be taught with their history. And then once you know your history, all of this stuff will be abolished. And this is their biggest fear of us, knowing who we are, knowing why we here, and spiritually knowing who. Feeling how we can better ourselves. And this is the reason why these books are constantly, the commercials, the music is constantly is a cycle of keeping these kids, these youth, and these adults too, at a mindset of not thinking for themselves. Other races, they know about land. I had a nurse that was always in Philippines that bought land in the United States, and I couldn't even wrap my mind in a state of me owning my own land. These people are coming from foreign countries, buying land in the United States, and when they see us not doing or not understanding how to set up our own business, how to school our own children, not sending our children to their own school, they have no respect for us. But we have to teach each other, and that's the only way this stuff can stop. I'm also a writer too. So
but keep in mind the people that are coming over here are taught already that there's a class system in place, and they know that black people are on the bottom. So that when they're coming here, they already know what the deal is. It's not a surprise to them. So this is why they come to your neighborhood and set up in your neighborhood. They already know what the deal is. They've already got the 411.
Yeah, I also agree with you with that, because I don't see black people as racist, because if we were, we wouldn't allow Koreans in our neighborhood. We would, keep out all foreign people, but they set up shop in our neighborhood. We're the only race group can't go and set up shop in their neighborhood. It's also, I have friends that wanted to had a barbershop, wanted to put it in a white neighborhood. They got pushed out by the Italians. We the only ones, so I can't see where people see that we are racist. Because I have people said that black people are racist, and I'm like, how? We are the most. We accept every culture. We do.
You're forced to. You're forced to accept every.
Problem is white people.
You don't have a choice.
That's true. I agree with Gus.
The problem is white people.
Right.
I just wanted to say that a few times, because the problem is white people.
You don't even have an option to really by, you're herded, what they call that redlining that the banks were doing, you're herded into areas unless you got super money like millions of dollars and everybody know your name like Magic Johnson. That's when white people want to get on board with you. But if you don't have any money, you taking out a loan, nobody knows who you are, you're going to be in the area where only you can afford to be in, and that is the Negro area or designated non-white area, and they're going to herd you and keep you in that spot.
As I have been
so
informed,
you don't have a choice.
There are non-white people who do have a lot of money, and they don't have a choice either. They have to do what white people say, and sometimes white people don't allow them to do what they want either, even if they do have a lot of money.
Right, I do attest to that as well.
Ross. I think Ross might be with us, and I don't think he said anything at all. I wanted to give him a spot to hop in if you had any comments.
Greeting.
Greeting.
Are you still there, Ross 40?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we can hear you.
He's breaking up.
Are you saying anything, or did you just say greetings and that's it? Oh, we can't hear you. We're not hearing you, Ross. Yep, not hearing you at all, Ross 43. Not sure what the issue is. Tater Pie, I believe is online. I'm going to try to add her because I think she wanted to comment. Let's see if she's with us. Okay. Let's see if she's on. The problem is white people while we're waiting. The problem is white people while we're waiting. The problem is white people, so-called Koreans or any other non-white people that set up shop in a black area. White people allow them to do that, and if white people didn't allow them to do it, it wouldn't be happening. Tater Pie, are you there?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yay, I could talk. Because I called in and I couldn't talk. I said, oh. I have a suggestion for the... Hello?
Yep.
Can I be heard?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yep.
I have a suggestion for the black male who was married to a white female and has a child with her. We talking to black females about when you're attempting to talk about racism with black females, ask them what they have been through first and then get to you. I found when I started to talk about racism first, when it comes to non-white males, they'll block me up, but then I'll just admit that, non-white males got it hard, and then they're more open to it, and then, you know what I mean, I can have a more broader discussion. So that would be my suggestion. Because a lot of times when non-white males talk about racism, they only talk about them, but then when a non-white female brings up the white female, it's like y'all just close off, and y'all don't want to talk about it anymore. So that's what I would suggest. So
that must be what I do, because that's what I see it as. Like,
can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Yes, sir. We can hear you. Ross, we can hear you.
Oh, at last. I think I was having some technical problems there, because I kept saying hello, and I don't know if you could hear me.
We couldn't hear you. I heard a greeting when I first asked you if you had any comments or anything, and then we heard silence. But we can hear you now. Good to hear from you, sir.
All I could say is the typical racist.
Exactly.
Using deflection as usual. This man must think that we're bloody fools.
I will tell you again, I was. When I did not understand racism, white supremacy, I was a fool. In fact, I was such a fool, I suspect it's very likely I could have read one of these books or both of these books and not thought this guy's racist. Like, it maybe a couple lines would have bothered me, but, it would have been, he's saying that this is a bad thing. This could happen. I would have said exactly what he said. He's trying to warn people, this could happen, and, he's trying to help black people. I was that big a fool.
Did he make some reference to penis and
all over the place, man?
You know something? Seriously, Gus, I wouldn't dare if he had a dildo. I'm not being nasty when I'm saying it, because I know a lot of them are into all this freakiness. Because many people used to talk about this BAM, and I was wondering what this BAM is. And it turns out that this BAM is a dildo made from a black male. And a lot of white males in particular have got this dildo, so I wouldn't be surprised if he's involved in all that sort of freakiness.
Hey,
he writes about like eunuchs and stuff. Oh, good to hear from him. He writes about eunuchs. I was just going to throw that in. He writes about eunuchs or excuse me, that's the other book, Farnham's Freehold. But he said that's his favorite book. Like, he didn't write it, but it influenced what he did write. And he said he owns every book that this gentleman wrote. He said he owns them all. He's one of his favorite authors. So,
there you go.
I mean...
Yeah, he has a fascination with rape. It seems like, from what you described, he has a fascination with rape.
It's all over the place. 909, were you there, 909?
Yes, sir. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I agree with what Ross was saying as far as this dude came across to me as a straight psychotic. Like a straight psychopath, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is Nazi propaganda. These white people are sick, you know what I'm saying? Straight up sick. So, this is what we're dealing with, like people that are, psychotic. That's just how I feel about it. And I suspect, and you might be in this next book, Gus, an interviewer.
Casualty. Oh boy!
I was still practically trying to rape a white woman.
Yeah, black interviewer.
Inciting
torn to pieces.
White women.
That's terrible. But that's Dr. Baruti, the sex imperative. That is Dr. Baruti, because he said in his book about white people and their association with sex and violence and pain, and this is it throughout the book that you have read, those books that you have previewed for these shows. It shows that their fascination with the pain and sex, and how it gets them off.
The characters, did you all think that was significant? The characters being named humpers? Is that sexual reference?
Yeah.
Okay.
I ain't read the book, so I don't.
That was crazy how he said how you called him out on the use of his language. I was paying very close attention to how he described violence and about all people when you broke things down by race. When he said, there's all something very dark in us. And
that we've been trying to get rid of.
I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't stop. That was Dr. Francis Cress Welsing all the way. I was amazed by how you called him out. You're like, very nice term. I like it.
That's why I said he can't even articulate why the character is thinking this way. This is why I suspect he didn't write the book at all. Somebody else wrote the book, and he's taking credit because, he may not be the psychotic. The psychotic may be somebody else who wrote the book and put him out in the front.
This is all white people.
He couldn't articulate. All he could say was, just like what you said, this is something we all got to get out. And I just do not comprehend what is he talking about. Because if I wrote the book, I'm writing a book also. If I'm writing a book, every character in my book has a particular
hang on
attitude.
1 second, sir. I didn't want to interrupt you.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on 1 second. This passage connects directly to what the gentleman just referenced, because I thought that was key too when he said that darkness that we're trying to get rid of. I think this gentleman is very aware. He's not ignorant. He just does not want to reveal truth about white supremacy. The guy is a racist. Not that he doesn't want to share this. And it's right. I mean, you don't even need, that's why I didn't feel bad. Like, I would have think it would have been even better if he had not been here at all. Like, if I had just talked about the book myself. Because it's black and white. You don't need him to interpret anything. Like, this is 285. It's right here. He's talking, this is explicit chapter from the book that he has, every book that this person wrote, Robert Bain, 285. And it says, gosh, I didn't even see that. The character's name is Hugh. Now, even think of that. You got a white character named Hugh. It's spelled H-U-G-H, but H-U-E. I didn't even think of that. The character's name is Hugh. So Hugh, this matter of racial differences, or the nonsense notion of racial equality, in quotes, had never been examined scientifically. There was too much emotion on both sides. Nobody wanted honest data. Hugh recalled an area of this country he had seen while in the Navy, a place where rich plantation owners, dignified, polished, educated in France, were black, while their servants and field hands, giggling, shuffling, shiftless knuckleheads, obviously incapable of better things, were mostly white men. He had stopped telling this anecdote in the States. It was never really believed, and it was almost always resented, even by whites who made a big thing of how anxious they were to help the American Negro improve himself, in quotes. Hugh had formed the opinion that almost all of those bleeding hearts wanted the Negro's lot improved until it was almost, in italics, as high as their own, and no longer on their consciences. But the idea that the tables could ever be turned was one they rejected emotionally. Hugh knew that the tables could indeed be turned. He had seen it once and now was experiencing it. But Hugh knew that the situation was still more confused. Many Roman citizens had been black as the ace of spades, and many slaves of Romans had been as blonde as Hitler wanted to be. So any white man, in quotes, so any white man of European ancestry was certain to have a dash of Negro blood, sometimes more than a dash. That Southern senator, what was his name? The one who had built his career on white supremacy, in quotes. Hugh had come across two sardonic facts. This old boy had died from cancer and had had many transfusions, and his blood type was such that the chances were 200 to 1 that its owner had not just a touch of the tar brush, but practically the whole tar barrel. A Navy surgeon had gleefully pointed, he was in the services too. A Navy surgeon had gleefully pointed this out to Hugh and had proved both points in medical literature. Nevertheless, this confused matter of races would never be straightened out because almost nobody wanted the truth. Take this matter of singing. It had seemed to Hugh that Negroes of his time averaged better singers than had most whites. Most people seemed to think so. Yet the very persons, white or black, who insisted most loudly that all races were equal always seemed happy to agree that Negroes were superior on the average in this one way. It reminded Hugh of George Orwell's Animal Farm, in which all animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Well, he knew who wasn't equal here, despite his statistically certain drop of black blood. Hugh Farnham, namely, he found that he agreed with Joe, the black male. When things were unequal, it was much nicer to be on top. And I would even say that's a cowbell there, because I think that is a sexual reference. It's much nicer to be on top. And I'll end right there. I don't need him to tell me anything. It does not get any clearer than that passage right there, which he didn't write, but it's his book. He said it's his favorite book, and he owns all of this guy's literature. And I'll just end by saying, if I have been retarded and confused about this, and white people have worked aggressively to keep me from understanding this, I have to assume that white people are very informed. He's not confused about this. He's not unconscious about this. He's very aware about what's on these pages, the ones he's written, and the book that I just read from. I would love to hear any thoughts about the passage I just read.
Well, I would just say that's the mind of a psychotic white person just coming out. And I say to the extent that you were confused is the extent that you will understand or catch the references to the genome, to the genetics. It's all there. It's all there. It's just you know, it's just non-white people, black people that are confused and not able to catch these conscious coding, and it's I suspect if it's conscious coding that it's meant to trigger something in white people that read it also. So it's definitely you know, for white people to get the message and act accordingly.
That's what I suspect.
Yeah, the same person that wrote a scene in one of his books is a human by choice of a cat being raped, you know, by like a humanoid, by a person or something like. Yeah, it's the same person, same racist.
Psychotic. These people will kill you in an instant. I mean, this is genetic annihilation. This is genetic survival. This is what we're talking about, man. This is absolute war, propaganda to set you up for any sick, psychotic torture, murder that they can come up with. It's just like his book is the White Odyssey. Yeah, it is. It's like the white fantasy, man. I mean, this is what this is, man. So, I mean, I don't know. I just want to say stay confused. Just stay. Don't. I was just gonna say, the more you're confused, you need to understand. You need to understand that white people, man, are, you know, crazy, man, and man, it's just. This is not nothing. It ain't no joke. This ain't no joke. That's why Gus said if it was up to him, he wouldn't write another book, because he understands how dangerous this person is. Let's do this, man. Himmler.
And one of the characters in this book, I forgot, he references his dad as the Fuhrer. I forgot I earmarked that. References his dad as man. That passage, that is one of the most incredible chunks I've read in a long time. And I read 1,100 pages this week. Dr. Welsing would have a field day with that. You have a white character named Hugh, and his son gets castrated by a black male. His daughter dies in childbirth, and the child dies in childbirth. I mean, it is incredible. And he's talking all this about having a brush of the tar brush. He said the whole barrel. And, I mean, that is incredible. Dr. Welsing would have a field day with that. And it concludes talking about he would. It's always best to be on top. That's like white genetic annihilation. Dr. Wellsing could not have written anything better. That is incredible. In a book where black people are now dominating, there's no white supremacy, and black people are making time machines. That is incredible.
And raping white women.
Oh, that's in the other book. That's a different one. But, I mean, same thing.
Gus?
Yes, sir. Yes. I think that was Ross. Maybe you're having technical issues. We can't hear you anymore. Yeah, if you get it corrected, just let us know. And
can you hear me now?
Okay, we can hear you.
Right. What I wanted to know, do you think he'll come back?
I don't have any interest in speaking with him. Like, no, I would have a better program just by myself. Like, I could read. It's in black and white. I don't need him to give me any information. Like, the best thing he gave me was that passage in Melanin Apocalypse about the young child realizing and knowing the difference between being a white person and a black person, and saying that he took that from his own life. That's the best piece of information.
I've got no interest in hearing me either. Just a waste of time.
I think we can move on.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I just thought the interview was enlightening, and it showcases an example of what a white supremacist look like. I mean, if there were anything, the number one thing I would even do, and what I've done already, is email a bunch of friends of mine about this interview. Only because I believe when black men always talk about racism and how white men think, somehow we're discredited, all the time, even though we're all saying the same things. It's interviews like this that really exposes the mindset of what they're thinking and how they have no reason or justification for our behavior. Even though, such as black male raping white women, he's saying, oh, well, this is real. And when you said, well, wait a minute, there are white men raping white women, why is this in the books? And then he says, oh, well, it wouldn't have been in the proper context. I mean, that was just in that example is what we're talking about.
White people are very skillful at that, eroding. He said that exactly. White people are extraordinary at eroding context and creating a false context. They are very skilled at doing that. Is I guess 404 and 818. Did you have any thoughts on that passage? That is incredible. That just stands out to me for so many reasons. The tar reference. I mean, that's an incredible metaphor. Black people as tar. I don't know.
Yeah,
did you have any thoughts on that?
The tar reference stood out to me big time. I was like, whoa, how do you say stuff like that or even think to write it and then claim that you're not a racist? And just a lot of times listening to him, he reminded me of older white people. They were females, but they always do this thing I noticed consistently. They throw out obviously blatantly racist things. It's like throwing the stone and then you hide around the corner and act like, oh, I didn't say that. I'm just an old innocent white person. And it seems like that's the act he's putting on, but his words betray him.
And his thoughts. Yeah.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could hear you all. It just seemed like it cut out for a minute.
Is 404 there? Oh, did we lose her? 404? I meant the caller. Sorry, the caller in Atlanta. The caller in Atlanta. I thought she said 404. The caller in Atlanta, are you there? Okay. The see other folks that had, and fair is all over these books. I wish I had counted the number of fairs. If I had to guess, I think fair is used more than 20 times in both of these books, White Odyssey and Farnham's Freehold. I think fair is used more than 20 times.
It would be interesting to count how many times he's made references to word like tar and darkened and things that refer, to black.
And colored. He kept using the word colored as well.
That's
outdated term.
That's all over White Odyssey. And White Odyssey is recent. Like Farnham's Freehold, the book that I just read, that passage about the tar brush and all, that was published in 1964. White Odyssey was published in 2007. So this is not a old book by any stretch. And I forgot, White Odyssey, the book where the black people are raping the white people, this is an Epi winner of the 2007 Children and Young Adult Award. So this is what, a group of white people have deemed is excellent literature for young adults and children.
Wow.
That's right. That's exactly.
When he was talking, I was confused because he was talking, the way he's talking and the way you're reading the book, and he's supposed to be non-racist, but he's using all these racist remarks, I mean fiery type racist remarks in his books. And that's why I had got the idea of, man, this guy didn't write these books. This guy is just perpetrating for somebody else. I mean, that has been done before where guys put somebody out in front and, they're fronting for somebody else. But that's the only reason why I came up with that, because he couldn't, just only because he couldn't explain certain things fully. But now that, it's not that I don't, I wouldn't believe that he wrote. It's just that, or that he's not a racist. I mean, if he's down with the game plan, he's definitely a racist. But the way these words are being used in the book, it's like, how do you even defend that? And he's trying to defend it, but even when I'm listening to him, he's being careful with not using those words that he put in the book. He felt comfortable putting them in the book, but he's trying to be careful in the interview.
Context. I mean, this is a great commercial for the show. Like, context. When you get a false context, I can say whatever. I can call black people colors and talk about hanging them and raping gold-toothed monkeys. I can do that for
right.
And nobody will say I'm racist because I have created a false context. But when that context is, and he knows that when that context disappears, I had better not call that nigger a nigger. I had better not. I mean, racist, and the importance of context. Make sure you remember we are in the context of white supremacy. Remember that at all times.
Especially that white supremacy part, because I'm sure he knows what white people like. He's trying to write a book for white people. They love that stuff.
White children and young adults.
Obvious.
White children and young adults. White children and young adults.
Catch them when they're young.
Getting them codified, up and getting them prepared, because this is definitely not for black people or non-colored people to non-white people to get involved in and feel like they're a part of this book, unless they're white identified. That's why when I'm hearing you speak it and I'm hearing this guy explain it, I'm like, I'm not reading this book. It's not for me.
We should use the book you should use the book as an example of white racist logic instead of saying,
racist logic.
Well, if you put out this book and you're putting out, and it's propaganda, and it only tells the story from a white male point of view, I mean, this is a blatant example of what white supremacy is and how it operates. So why not use that book as an example and say, look at these words that this writer chose to describe a group of people? How many times this is that?
I think it's important too is that, when he don't let, he's coming on the cows, and he's talking to black people, he's talking to non-white people, but don't let what he's saying confuse you, or confuse the situation. I mean, I think if he was on like a radio show that was, I guess, mostly for white people, he might even sound real similar. Because that's just like Gus said. That's the type of stuff they can get away with in their books. They try to be more refined when they're going to be talking to a live audience. But he's white.
But when they're on white,
he's very informed what he's doing.
But when they're on white shows, they don't even bring up that kind of racist rants or talks like Gus brought up. They'll talk about something and they'll go around that. They're more, they're refined in what they're saying, but they won't mention race on white shows. And Gus brought up stuff he wasn't prepared to explain, and that's why I didn't believe he wrote it. But if he wrote it, he wasn't prepared to explain. The more I think about it. Now he just was not prepared properly to confront his own racism to a black person that is aware of what he's doing.
I mean, there's no explanation. There's no explanation. Confusion is lethal. What is he going to do? Come out and say, "Yeah, I wrote this book in hopes that white people get to cracking on killing you black people."
And that's what it does. I hope y'all remember that Dana R. Carney, that white woman, when she was on the program. This stuff is not harmless. She said when you show images, present people with racism, white supremacy, that encourages white people to be racist. White people know that is the effect that this has. That's why they make it a part of their system to worship racist acts. That's why they got Nathaniel Bedford on license plates in Mississippi. I just put that on my Facebook. That was in the news.
Yeah,
that's why they do this. The Texas Rangers, that worshiping genocide, that's why they do this. They know when you put that out there, that reinforces in other white people. Yep, that's what we should be doing. My granddad was doing it. My great-granddad was doing it. And my grandchildren are going to be doing it. That's the way they think.
And that's why I just would ignore even attempting to even read this, because you already even if you're not that aware, you know it when you see it, because it's not really that refined of what they're doing, because you know past events that pointed to that and what he's doing, and they worship John Wayne and the, their Indian movies and blah blah blah. Okay, you know that's deep down. You end up knowing that. Okay, yeah, that's the wrong thing. When you find out certain truths, and so yeah, I just didn't even want to even hear this guy because the way the book was going, it was just whites worshiping, killing of black people as usual, and next, let's see somebody else. I don't even want to bother even listening to this guy or even more of this book. I'm like, next. And when you were reading the Mark Twain, I never read Mark Twain. Never wanted to read Mark Twain. Some just told me this book ain't for you. And even when they try to force you in school to read, nope, never bothered to read that. But I did read, and I do like that movie for some reason, Mockingbird, To Kill a Mockingbird.
Cowbell. And
yeah, you pointed out some things that I said the same thing to myself, even as a kid. when I first read the book and saw the movie. And I try to get my kids to see it whenever it comes on, so I can point out certain things. But and it was just the way the people stood up, because I didn't understand that either. Why are they standing for this white man who didn't win? I mean, it was like white supremacy as usual. Next. And you're standing up for this dude, right? And you're clapping
from the rafters.
And I'm like, are they gonna give him a standing ovation or something? I didn't understand that when I was a kid. And there was another movie I wanted to bring to your attention too, but I forgot the name of it. It's like, I don't know. I'll when I remember what it is, I'll try to bring it to your attention. It was almost on that same status where you had some non-white people in the jail cells and you had white folks marching around with signs, you know, because they trying to get into the jail cell to hang these people, and it's crazy. They got a black and white version and a color version. I mean, they love these movies. So, like I said, next.
I'm gonna mute my line. We have 15 minutes left. I'm gonna mute my line because I feel like I talked a lot. But I never thought I would say it, but man, white people reading racist literature has taught me a ton this week. I don't even read fiction, and I have read about 1,000 pages of fiction this week. They have taught me a ton about racism, white supremacy. I want to again emphasize this book with the raping black males. One, the 2007 epi for children and young adults, White Odyssey with the raping black males, the 2007 winner of the epi Children and Young Adults Literature Award. My last comment, I think I did say in Farmer's Freehold, the child of Hugh, H-U-G-H, not to be confused with H-U-E, Hugh. But Hugh's child is named Duke, and I pointed out that John Wayne reference. For those of you who are not familiar with John Wayne, this will be my final comment. John Wayne quoted as saying, with a lot of blacks, there's quite a bit of resentment along with their descent, and possibly rightfully so. But we can't all of a sudden get down on our knees and turn everything over to the leadership of the blacks. I believe in white supremacy until blacks are educated to the point of responsibility. I don't believe in giving authority and positions of leadership and judgment to irresponsible people. John Wayne, nicknamed Duke. Maybe Mr. Reinhold didn't know that, but I think white people tend to worship John Wayne, and this book came out at about the same time John Wayne made this quote. I kind of think the person who wrote this, the white guy who wrote this book, knew about that, knew about John Wayne, what he means to white people, his films, generally him slaughtering so-called Native Americans. I would say white people are informed about all that. You should keep it in mind, and, you know, they believe in white supremacy forever. Not until black people are educated. They believe in white supremacy forever. And I'll end there. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm muting my line. You have 13 minutes remaining in the program.
I'll just say, if I know about it, white people know about John Wayne. And I'm fully down with what Public Enemy said in the first place. So I don't have to repeat it. Everybody knows it. I think everybody secretly says it when the song is on. So, I mean, or secretly or out. I mean, that's my favorite part of the song. So, nothing more to it.
Yeah, if you're not already convinced, just read you some white fiction, some Nazi lit. If you're confused, I would say stay away from it because you won't catch the references to the genetic. You don't see it in context. So yeah, if you just need a little bit more convincing, just get one of these black annihilation books. Some of this white fiction. You learn a lot.
Their nonfiction is real convincing too. Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy. They outline it out in there too.
Yeah, I think more if we were ever going to do anything about ending white supremacy or racism, we have to start with dialogue and language and educating a lot of non-white people on how to deal with each other, as well as how to deal with white people in the first place, starting from very young to college and even adult life. So right now, there are a few books out there, but think about if a few books turn into a few hundred or a few thousand, and then it becomes an entire thing within itself, like counter racism, to where you're going all non-white people go to a school and an educational facility where they get to learn about each other's background and how to deal with each other and how to deal with white people as well. So that way we grow up and our children grow up not confused about white supremacy at all.
I think that's an excellent suggestion right there. Would have been my suggestion as well for non-white people learning how to deal and learning why you act the way you act toward each other and expecting resentment and attitude, which would help that child who is codified, more than other children, would help that child stay away from conflict just by saying, I understand, and just, walk away or learn how to walk away as best as they could against non-white people. and just with that teaching of that, and also when you're teaching history, teach them the codified words that white people use when they're trying to exclude you from the history and replace, words in certain books or even on TV, so they can listen for those codified words so they can understand, okay, I know who they're talking about, I know what they're talking about, or be close to it. So, you need a school where they can learn that codified understanding. And if you ain't going to be able to get it, everybody's got to be able to learn that so that they can have some resemblance of history that they can fall back on, so that they can know what to see in the future when they see it. Because if you don't know your past, you won't know your future, or you won't know where you're going. You'll keep repeating the same mistakes, and you'll just be in a vicious cycle. So it's important to know the codified words so that you can get around a lot of misconceptions in history. Purposeful misconceptions. Okay.
Tater Pie, I think your line is open. Oh. I forgot too. I'd heard tar brush before. That's one of white people's codes. If you want to watch a film, easy one, Paradise Island, Harry Belafonte, Dorothy Dandridge, lots of cowbells all over the place. I couldn't ring it enough. It will climax, and you'll have white people using that phrase, tar brush. You'll have white people killing about that phrase. Real interesting film, Paradise Island. It came out in the 70s. Tater Pie, your line is open.
I would say close the bedroom door. Stop having sex with white people who you should be suspecting as racist. Because it looks hypocritical when you're talking about racism, yet you are sleeping with who you're cleaning about. So I'll say let's start there.
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What I mean?
Can you repeat what you just said? Like you said, it seems hypocritical if what?
It looks hypocritical when a non-white person is sleeping with a white person, right? And they're complaining about racism, but they're not seeing that. How can I put this? They're complaining about the people. They're complaining about the same person that they're sleeping with. Does it make any sense?
Yeah, I get what you.
It looks
saying,
hypocritical.
so.
It's like no one can take you seriously if you're still with.
Well, if you think like that one lady from England thinks, you're judging people individually instead of understanding that they're in as a group.
Oh, I wanted to I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to say before we get off the phone, if any of you can catch Joel Osteen's message for today, it's one of those, like you just said, where he says, don't judge people by the whole group or the stereotypes, but by the individuals, and he does it's the whole thing, and it just further helps non-white people to be confused about what the problem is. But I saw it earlier this morning, so it should repeat throughout the day and maybe the week. But it's Joel Osteen, and he starts off telling jokes about racism and white people and people being colored. He starts off with a joke like that.
Not watching.
Yeah. I always knew Joel Osteen got rich and famous, and as well as other white people trying to speak to something that they don't know, which is God or Jesus or the Bible or any actual history that happened. And the Bible is supposed to be one of the key elements of our history, yet it's twisted and perverted only because white people have twisted the language up.
Mm-hmm. It sounds like he actually getting rich doing something he knows very well, which is practicing white supremacy.
Mm-hmm.
You ever notice that in that Bible, in most of the black women, when preachers want to do their Black History on month and they try to mention the black people in the Bible, most of the black women in the Bible are either hookers or prostitutes. Anybody else ever notice that?
Are you referring to Rahab the harlot? And they say she was a Moabitess or something like that?
Rahab, you said?
Yeah, the only person I can think of that's a harlot that I've heard people say, that I've heard white people say was black, was Rahab the Moabitess, who was a harlot, and she's supposed to be in Jesus' lineage. She's supposed to be in his lineage.
I believe they say that about Jesus' mother as well.
They don't say that she's black. At least I don't hear it.
I'm not Jesus' mother. I meant his so-called wife.
Mary Magdalene?
Yeah.
I have not heard her referred to as a black female either. They're still portraying the Queen of Sheba in television things as like some non-black, Arab sort of looking female a lot of times. I've seen her portrayed as black a few times, but pretty much coming from white people and even from a lot of confused black people, I still see most people in the Bible depicted as white.
Oh, if I can be heard, I'm sorry about that, folks. I was doing laundry, so I kind of missed the last hour of the conversation. Speaking about black in the Bible, Hagar is supposed to be black, but like 818 was saying, I don't know, they don't also represent. The whole Bible is supposed to be people of color, point blank. But we all know because of the system of white supremacy, they, of course, going to insert themselves and say they were all people, white people.
Right.
I mean,
that's where these things came in.
If you have sex with your mortal enemy, I mean, you have sex with your enemy. I just want people to think about that. And I just want people to think about the fact that you married to your mortal enemy, and you talking about and people are black people are supposed to listen to you, talk about the problem black people are facing. I just want people to think about that. Like, what does it do to the psyche of the person that has slept with their enemy, their mortal enemy.
I don't think they could think straight.
You were saying it.
Wow. Lilith. She's not in the Bible, but she's in the Torah and the Jewish legend. Lilith is also depicted as a